let go so I can be free. I take the weight on my shoulders. I feel the sky come down on me. And I can't hold it much longer. Gonna let go so I can be free. Yeah, yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah, yeah. Oh, yeah.
What's up? We're back, and we're here for the long haul. Today is Braun, Pierzynski, and Kratz with FT Live. Guest list is cool. Ken Rosenthal in about 15 minutes, and later we will talk to Josiah Gray, the all-star starter for the Washington Nationals this past season. Lucas Giolito swinging by to have a little chat about his breaking news signing situation, which we'll get to. Half kidding, but you'll enjoy it. And
all here at the Mandalay Bay.
We are at the Mandalay Bay. Thank you, Kratz, getting the job done. He is the ambassador that we all need. And we will be here tonight as well.
What's tonight?
We are streaming the Playmakers Party at Mandalay Bay. Still undecided if AJ will be there. No, I'm kidding. He's coming. But he has not RSVP'd. You don't RSVP, do you? Like if someone sends you an invitation?
Yes, I do, because I think it's rude if you don't.
Really?
But I also think, here's my thing. Like I also think
But you don't check emails.
I have a hard time with emails. But
No, the whole email.
no, but here's my thing. If you put a bad subject at the top of an email, then you know what? I'm not going to read the whole email because I don't care that much. Right? So if the email would have said itinerary for foul territory in Las Vegas, I would have read the whole email. But the email
it said foul territory in Las Vegas. That is the title.
Yeah, but then I
email.
read the first line because you get the little preview of the remix. It said, "Here is everyone's flight information and hotel information for everyone to have." And I'm like, "Yep, I don't care about that. Where everyone's staying, I don't need anyone's phone number. I'm hiding from these people."
Because you're so busy, you couldn't read the rest of the email.
100%.
You couldn't give one of these.
I couldn't take my thumb and go. So I blame Mark.
I don't at all. There's zero. I love that you're trolling him, but there's zero. You need to read. You're just enticing people to.
I was also out of town the entire week.
What does that have to do with anything?
So the email wasn't working.
Oh,
yes, it was. That is ridiculous. Says the guy who did a show from a cruise ship last week.
It's true.
All right, so now we know
the email wasn't working.
The email
I think
title.
you know what happened? It got lost in the email. That was what happened.
The email title has to be sexy, or
no, it
he's
just
not
has to
responding.
tell me something I need. Because if it doesn't say something I need,
your itinerary trip to
now every
Vegas
email I send him, which I'm a texter, but if I ever send an email to AJ, I'm going to be like, "You need to see this."
Caution!
Yes.
Yeah.
Exclamation
Code
point.
red. We are going to be at a party with a ton of current big leaguers. So if you want to kick it with us on YouTube later,
I'm going to read this just because.
It's
quick. It's quick.
No,
it says foul territory in Vegas, and then it says attaches the travel document with everyone's flight and hotel information.
And
all
then
the rooms
AJ's
are booked under my
sleeping by
name, and
then.
I'm like, don't care after that.
I'm bored.
Yep, I'm like, yep, too much.
Mark, send me my flight information.
Yeah,
just mine. I don't need anything else.
Why do I care when you guys get it? As long as you're here.
It's ridiculous. Team player. Let's charge the mound. Powered by Teeza, baby. Teeza took the trip with us.
Always.
There it is.
It's always in my bag.
It is.
Always in my bag.
I think it's parked in AJ's mouth right now. Yeah.
Peppermint.
And for more info,
That's a good one.
if you're a dipper out there, because I know a lot of the baseball fans out there might either be around someone that dips or maybe they've been dipping themselves. No tobacco, no nicotine. This is the way to get it done. 20% off. Use the code FOUL. And obviously, you can check out their website for more information at tzenergy.com. John Heyman putting out a little more info on the battle royale that is taking place in New York City between the Yankees and the Mets. I'm friends with John, so I can make fun of him because on the tweet, it does not say royale. Do you notice that?
Battle rotale.
Rotale. For a second, I was like,
rotale.
is he getting fancy on me?
Did you look up
What is a
rotale?
rotale? No, I knew. John would be the first to say he is not always super clean with his tweets. There's a typo here and there. But anyway, the Mets and Yankees are both going hard for Yamamoto. I just want to make sure we give enough attention to the second most coveted free agent on the market. Not necessarily saying that there are as many teams going after Yamamoto as some of the other free agents, but that's only because there are many teams that are looking at the price tag and the amount of interest he has from big market teams that are going to spend, and they're like, yeah, I'm not balling with them. I mean, he's getting $200+ million easy. In my mind, like, I keep ticking up the number that I think he'll get. I think he might get like $235 million. He can be a number one from day one, and he's 25 years old. And the one other layer here, Kratz, I know we've talked about this, and this is my conspiracy theory, but the New York Mets this past season had a super disappointing year. They spent a lot of money. They had horses at the top of their rotation, like Scherzer and Verlander, and pretty quickly we realized as a baseball world that this team was not going to be playoff bound. The Mets realized that too and said, hey, we need to improve our farm system. They made trades that really helped them out in that department. They got quality prospects for Verlander and Max Scherzer. They had to convince them that they should accept a trade because they both had no trade clauses. I do think part of the conversation was like, hey, we might take a step back next year. In my mind, I think you have to tell someone what they need to hear for them to feel comfortable closure to take a trade like that and not say, you know what, actually, I want to be with you in 2024. If I'm one of those players and I now see it's fine for JV and Max, it's fine. It worked out. But if I'm one of them and I now see they're going after Yamamoto, and if he is as good as advertised and he's a 1 and maybe even a Cy Young contender year 1 with him and Senga at the top of a rotation and the Mets do bounce back, they could be a wild card team. I don't think they're winning a division, but they could be a wild card team. So I don't think that's taking a step back from 2023 when they were pretty terrible and they won 70-something games. That would be a pretty big step forward in my mind.
Are you saying that they lied to Verlander
I think they kind of said what they needed them to hear. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Because to you, is that taking a step back? Spending $230 million on the top pitcher available? Put Ohtani in a different category and he's not pitching next year.
Yeah, but you're not getting a pitcher for 1 year. It's 7 years. You're not getting Yamamoto for less than 7, and I wouldn't be surprised if he gets 8. So why is that? There's plenty of teams that the Nats signed Jason Worth. They weren't like, we're winning this year because we got Jason Worth. We're moving in a direction. I don't think they're deviating from what. Now, if they go out and sign Yamamoto and they get Ohtani,
that's not a step back.
It's not a step back, but it's also not. They're not. To me, if they told Verlander and Scherzer, we are not winning next year, we are looking to build for the future, that is what they need to hear to get out of there, 100%. But I don't think signing a guy that's 25 years old long term is like, boom, we got it now. We're winning this year. To me, I think they're great, but they know they have to build an absolute juggernaut to compete with the Marlins, who made the playoffs and have awesome starting rotation. The Mets are the team that needs to put their name back in there.
You don't think would you be shocked if the Mets won more games than the Marlins? Braves and Phillies are probably going to be in a different category.
Would I be shocked?
Especially if they get someone like Yamamoto.
Yeah, because they still don't have a lineup.
They have a lineup.
The Mets?
They have Pete Alonso,
Francisco Lindor,
Francisco
Brandon Nimmo.
McNeil, Alvarez, the catcher?
Yeah.
They got their lineups.
It's not bad.
Not bad.
I don't.
Whose lineup would you rather have? The Marlins or the Mets?
Mets. Easy.
Easy.
It's not even close.
So then Yamamoto puts that. It's not even close. I get that.
And the Marlins don't have Soler coming up for next year right now, and I don't think they're re-signing him.
No. Where would they find the money?
The Marlins are about to be the Rays.
But has Yamamoto pushed them, one pitcher, 32 starts, push them to a playoff team?
Maybe.
Edwin Diaz comes back?
Yeah, that sounds pretty good. This is my whole point. My whole point with this was just that when that happened months back, remember, I was saying it. I was just like, I don't know if they're going to take a step back. I was
They're
like,
never
I
going to
could make a case they're probably going to be better next year. I'm just saying, I think, I'm not saying like, ooh, I duped you. We're actually good. Because again, Max won a World Series. We had him on recently. Like, he's not trading the situation back, right? It's not like he's going, oh, screw the Mets. I want to be back on the Mets again.
So
you
is
know?
Verlander?
No.
I think Verlander wanted to be in New York. I do. I believed those reports. And I think they were like, hey, dude, like you're at the point in your career where you don't want to be a part of a team that we know this year stinks. And then in 2024, we might not do that much. I mean, the guy that was telling them that, it was a little bit of Steve Cohen, but also Billy Epler. He's not even with the team anymore anyway. So I don't know. Just throwing it out there.
So
I'm not knocking anything. I like this for them. I like this for any team that has money.
Totally.
He's 25. Yamamoto is a dream free agent for most people.
Totally. But if they don't get him, are they trading Alonso? You know, like the reports had come out and said possibly trading Alonso. But if they don't get him now, they have extra money to pay Alonso.
They have extra. They have
Money.
limitless money.
They have limitless money. But
My whole thing with this is if you're Yamamoto, whoever leaked this is fucking genius.
Why?
Because you want every other team to say, oh, no, the Yankees and the Mets are involved. Price just goes. Because every other team is now like, oh, no, the Yankees are involved. The Mets are involved. Hell, I want the Cubs involved. I want the Dodgers involved. I want every big market team involved if you're a free agent. If you're the agent, make it up. I'm not saying this is what happened here, but slip a little note to Mike Vaccaro and be like, hey, we got a call from the Yankees today about Scooter Braun to be a pitcher.
You say that happens?
Yeah, maybe. Just to maybe up the value just a little bit, you know, because the Red Sox now are like, oh, shit, the Yankees are in, right? The Braves like, oh, shit, the Mets. The Phillies like, oh, we got Nola, but the Mets are trying to get Yamamoto and maybe Shohei. Like that as much as teams say it doesn't matter, those big market teams, now it's gone down a little bit, but there used to be like panic signings from especially like Yankees, Red Sox when it was the all-out spending war. Red Sox would sign somebody, the Yankees like, well, shit, we got to sign somebody, and they just throw money at some dude. So it definitely happens. It's just it's on a lesser scale now. But listen, this is only good for Yamamoto. You want all the big market teams involved. If I'm his agent, I don't know who his agent is. I'm telling everybody. Oh, Yankees, Mets, Dodgers, yeah. Oh, Cubs, yeah.
Giants.
Giants made a huge offer. Oh, yeah, like.
Oh, if the Giants don't get Shohei Ohtani, I mean, I would think that they're going super hard for Yamamoto and obviously some type of bat. Bellinger.
Snell. Dude, Giants. To me, Snell would be a good fit in the Giants because we talked about it yesterday, like how they manage their workload. He's like a 5 or 6 inning guy every time. Giants love those guys.
Yeah. I need to see him not be a 5 to 6 inning guy.
Well, I agree, but he has never been.
But the team,
he got 2 Cy Youngs in his back pocket,
and he doesn't take himself out of games anyway.
Yeah, I mean, he throws 120 pitches in 6 innings too.
Let me go. Let me play. The numbers go better the more he pitches. Anyway.
So just throwing that out there.
By the way, the best thing is Derek, our behind the scenes guy, is a big Yankees fan.
Yeah,
he's like, oh, they're Yamamoto, Shohei, oh, Jordan Montgomery. I'm like, now for me, Jordan Montgomery, if I'm him, unless they overpay me a lot to go, like, they ship me out with such bad, like, juju. Oh, he's not going to be on the playoff roster, so we're shipping him out, and then he just goes out and dominates in the postseason. Like, it would take a lot of money if I'm Jordan Montgomery to go back to the Yankees. Yes, like they'd have to so overpay me.
Yeah, you would hold that animosity.
I would try to freaking milk every dollar I could out of him.
Well, I think he's going to do that anywhere.
Yeah, but I'm saying if it came down to like if there was 2 teams, say the Rangers make him, I don't know, these are just random numbers. 5 years, 100, right? And the Yankees offer him 5 years.
That. Yeah,
I know these are just easy numbers. 5 years, 100. Yankees go 5 years, 100. I mean, the Rangers is probably a bad example, but the Giants go 5 years, 100. Yankees go 5 years, 100. And he's like, the Yankees. I don't know. Some people hold that stuff inside.
Yeah, I don't see him going to New York. I don't see him going back. That's just my take. But I think there's plenty of other teams interested.
Again, but his agent. You always want to drop that in there. You always want to drop
that. Oh, hell yeah.
Those teams.
New York teams are involved.
Yes, you always want
what we're
New
talking
York
about here.
Just like the league drops in numbers on shows going, oh yeah, I just don't see how you pay more than $325 million for Shohei. Like, I just don't see. It's like, what? No, you put all that information out there, see what comes back.
All right, so let's get into a lot of this with Ken Rosenthal coming up in a sec. But first off, use the discount code FOUL, FOUL, for 20% off your first order at TizaEnergy.com. So I think Ken's ready to go. Let's bring in our friend Ken Rosenthal right now, FT Senior Insider, to get into it. And
he should be in Vegas with us.
He's got a big trip coming up. Actually, I do want to start there for a quick sec to take us inside the mind of Ken Rosenthal. Do you freak out when you're on a plane going to the winter meetings because there could be a Wi-Fi issue, and that could be the time you get a text that, like, Yamamoto signs?
Available to the phone. So, yeah, that's just the way it is this time of year. There have been times, I think last year, in fact, San Diego, I did not have Wi-Fi going out there. Now, it turned out nothing happened, but it was one of those, I guess, United Airlines flights where, guys, we're not going to have Wi-Fi today, so sorry. And, yeah, it was peaceful, but it was making me a little nuts, too.
Katie Wu, yesterday we had Katie Wu on. Remember, she was out in
Napa.
And they signed Sonny Gray, and they give her, and they signed Lance Lynn, and they signed Kyle Gibson. They give him a 2-hour heads up, and she's like, I can't get back from California to be to the press conference. Like, so, that would, if that happened to Ken, he would be a little perturbed. I feel like.
Exactly. All right, so Ken, let's get into it. I know you put out your notes column today, and I wanted to start with Bo Bichette and Alex Bregman. Guys, we haven't spoken a ton about so far this offseason. So can you give us some light on what you wrote about and the realistic chance that those guys are not with their teams for spring training or even also in the future? Like, are there legitimate chances that these two guys are not lifetime Blue Jays and Astros?
Well, Scott, there certainly is a legitimate chance of that. And in fact, I would expect that neither will be a lifetime member of his team. Bregman has 1 year left on his deal. He's represented by Scott Boras. He's going to go to the open market. Most likely will get a really good contract. The Astros have shown over the years that they will let guys go. They let Correa go. They let Springer go. Bichette, a little bit different. He has an extra year on his deal. But again, they have not reached an extension with him. And that is kind of, in my view, what is driving some of these conversations now. There's a shortage of available quality position players on the market. Teams see that a Bregman is unsigned beyond this year, a Bo Bichette is unsigned beyond this year, and they at least inquire. Now, the question I have still is whether those inquiries are coming from the teams or if the Blue Jays and Astros are involved as well. I hear mixed on that, especially with the Blue Jays and Bichette. But the bottom line is the Blue Jays cannot trade Bo Bichette and get the same kind of player in return, most likely. Maybe you can. There's a world out there, I'm sure, where that exists, that kind of deal. But they're trying to win. They're trying to sign Shohei Ohtani from everything we've heard. And I don't know how that you make your team better for 2024 if you're without Bo Bichette. In fact, I'd like to see the trade that would make them better. That would be really intriguing. Bregman, it's the same thing. He is so valuable to that team offensively, defensively, leadership. They don't have an internal replacement. They don't really have anybody that could fill Alex Bregman's spot. So that one I have a harder time seeing happening because the Astros over the years, as I mentioned, they have picked out the guys that they want to extend. Yordan Alvarez, Bregman, his first contract, Altuve, and then they have let others go who they didn't want to extend or keep. So to me, it seems like the Astros have one more run in them. They're not going to rebuild. After this year, it gets trickier because Altuve's up. I expect him to re-sign there. That's his team. Bregman, a little bit different. I expect him to go out in the open market. And then the year after that, you've got Framber Valdez and Kyle Tucker both eligible for free agency. So the Astros are in an interesting spot here. And we'll see how they handle it, but I'd be surprised if they traded Alex Bregman.
But don't they need to replenish their farm system, or do teams at this point want to go for a 1 year all or nothing?
Well, they do need to replenish their farm system, Eric. There's no question about that. And Dana Brown Their general manager is just completing his first year. He is a guy that really made Atlanta strong with the draft, and he's done a great job in Toronto as well. So I expect with him at the helm that they're going to do some things in the draft, some positive things. Now, you could trade Bregman and replenish your farm system, but you've been to 7 straight LCSs. You want to keep that going. And also, as you guys mentioned, Bregman is going to be $28.5 million this year. For a one-year guy, and this goes for Juan Soto too, for a one-year guy, the return is simply not as great when you only have the 1 year of control. So that's problematic when you're talking about trades for Bregman and, yes, even for Soto.
Ken, I have a great idea. Trade Bichette for Bregman. Then we can start over.
That makes no sense.
It doesn't make any sense, yeah.
What do you mean? You can move Bichette to third, Payne to third.
Nah.
You know, the
No.
Blue Jays need a third baseman because the Chapman's a free agent. I'm just saying.
Good try, AJ.
No,
We're playing fantasy baseball here. I mean, why not?
it doesn't make sense.
We're not.
Ken, did you catch any of our conversation about Yamamoto? And
A little
also
bit, yes.
okay. So I also kind of brought the Mets into the conversation, and I remember you had the article with Max Scherzer, right? When he was getting dealt and getting more context. Am I getting that right?
Yes.
See, that was like a million years ago. So I was trying to make a case that I think the Mets, if they're going after someone like Yamamoto, that's not taking a step back. I know that it's a long-term deal if you're signing him, but spending $200-something million on a pitcher, and then I would assume they probably would do something else too. That's not taking a step back, and I would make the case that they'll probably win more games in 2024 if that's the case, and maybe at least be a wild card contender. Where do you think they're at? And do you buy what I'm selling, that at the time when they told Verlander and Scherzer that they're going to take a step back, or however they phrased it, it was a little bit of sugarcoating to kind of get the result that they needed?
I'm not sure, Scott. I've certainly wondered that myself. If they gave that message to those two pitchers because they wanted those moves to happen and they wanted to set themselves up better in their minds for the future. So were they ever fully intending to take a step back and not compete in 24? We're going to find out. We're going to find out by how they conduct themselves this offseason. But Yamamoto fits them in the other plan, in the 2025 and beyond plan, because he is so young. And he is a guy that would grow with them as they start to incorporate some of the young talent that they've acquired and are developing on their own. So it remains to be seen exactly how far Steve Cohen will go in this so-called step back. I don't believe he's going to go very far at all. In my view, they're going to spend. They may not spend like they spent the past 2 off seasons, okay, but they're going to do some things, and they will be involved for Yamamoto. I would not be surprised if they were involved for Ohtani at some level. The problem for the Mets, and maybe it's not a problem at all because Steve Cohen is the owner, at the tax level they're at, they're basically paying double on any free agent contract that they agree to with the player. So, for instance, if you give Ohtani $500 million, that's $1 billion. If you give Yamamoto $200 million, that's $400 million because the tax is, I believe, 110%. Maybe Cohen doesn't care. He's shown in many ways that he doesn't care about such things. But if I were him, I might care about that.
Yeah, I think at some point you have to care. Like, I mean, that's a lot of cheese.
Going to Bob Nutting.
Yes.
I just picking on him, but it's going to the teams in revenue sharing, isn't it?
It's going to teams and it's going to the players in the sense of like the 401k stuff, the Vanguard.
Is that what it
stuff.
does?
Some of it goes there. Some of it goes to teams. But anyway, that's where that is. So if they don't get those guys, where do the Mets pivot to in the sense that, oh, well, if we don't get them, we told Scherzer, we told Verlander we weren't really doing anything. Do you see a scenario where they stay silent? Do you see a scenario where they go, okay, no, not at all?
No, they need starting pitching. And I expect that they're going to get at least one free agent starting pitcher, one of the better ones, actually. Maybe it's Jordan Montgomery. Maybe it's someone else. But I just cannot see them going to the point where they're saying 2024 doesn't count. I never believed that, even when Scherzer let me know that day that that's what they told him and that's why he agreed to go. They may not go as deeply into the heavy investments as they did before, but they're still going to be competitive. They're going to try. It's not the Oakland A's of recent vintage. They're going backwards. So while they're retrenching to some degree, or while they did retrench to some degree, it's with the idea of going forward and going forward quickly. So I don't know what the answer is there, and I don't know how it's going to play out, but they're one of the most fascinating teams for just the reasons you guys are bringing up here. What Verlander and Scherzer were told on deadline day or right before that, and where they go from here based on what we know so far.
Ken, I don't know if you saw what I said yesterday about the Yankees, but I said Yamamoto, Bellinger, and Soto all are great fits for the Yankees. Why can't they do it? And obviously Soto, we're seeing in your article and other people, I've heard it too, that the Padres almost have to trade Juan Soto. But again, why can't the Yankees do this? The Yankees, George Steinbrenner have been like, write a check, and oh yeah, trade for him, trade everybody, right? It's obviously new Yankees. But why does Juan Soto have to be traded, and is he going to end up in New York?
Well, why he has to be traded, as I wrote today, basically just do the math. And the math for the Padres is that their payroll is going down. They took out a $50 million loan to meet their expenses at the end of last season, including player payroll, as we reported in The Athletic, and they're not going to be at 240 again. The numbers we've heard are closer to 200. So you're doing that, you're already at 189. Luxury tax, you're already over. You'd be over for the fourth straight year. Now, maybe they're going to do that, but Peter Seidler was the guy driving all this. And he was the one who was so passionate about bringing that World Series title to San Diego and making it happen. I don't know that the people who are succeeding him in the executive positions are as enthusiastic. They are most likely more mindful of the bottom line than Peter Seidler was. So from that perspective alone, keeping Soto at $33 million or whatever it's going to be in arbitration doesn't make a whole lot of sense, especially when it's unlikely, extremely unlikely, you're going to re-sign him. He's already turned down $440 million. You've got Tatis, Bogarts, Machado on the books, as well as Darvish for huge money. There has to be a limit, I am sure, even for the Padres. The other element to this, and this is as important an element as the financial part of it to me, their pitching is in shambles. And it's in shambles because they've had so many free agent defections. I'm talking not just about Snell, but about Waka, Lugo, Nick Martinez, and in the bullpen, Luis Garcia, and, oh yes, the closer, Josh Hader. I added it up last night. It's like 700 innings combined. You've got to get pitching. Who is the one player on your roster who can get you some level of pitching? It's Juan Soto, and then you take the money you save by not paying him, and you spend it on some other pitching as well. That, to me, is the obvious choice for them. I'm not saying it's certain to happen, but the way I phrased it in my story, it's almost certain he will be traded. I strongly believe that.
I don't think the White Sox want Juan Soto, but they do have Dylan Cease, and that's a pitcher that a lot of teams want. Is the heavy interest? Is it the heavy interest from the White Sox wanting to trade him and getting a huge piece? Or is the heavy interest saying, man, we need pitching, Orioles need pitching, Reds need pitching, pretty much everybody could use a Dylan Cease?
It's both ways, Eric, in my opinion. Obviously, those teams that you mentioned, plus a half dozen more at least, want Dylan Cease for 2 more years of control, recognize what he could be for their staff. And from the White Sox perspective, it's kind of a similar situation to the Padres in that you have a very attractive piece that people want. He can get you other things that you need. They need more good players, right? They need younger players. They need more athletic players. They need pitchers. They need everything. So you've got Cease. You can dangle him out there and see what the best price is, and then you just jump on that offer. Their general manager, Chris Getz, has made it clear they are open for business, and that is the approach he should be taking. And it is the approach that I am sure we're going to see more of from him this offseason. We've already seen the one trade with Atlanta. Got him 5 players. I don't know that any of them will pan out, but if 1 or 2 of them do in that trade for Aaron Bummer, that trade's a win. You're trading a reliever. Guy at the most volatile position on your team, a good reliever, but he's still a reliever. So I expect they're going to be aggressive because they know and they've recognized now that they need to change some things.
Okay, Ken, let's finish with a guy that's not at this tippy top of the free agent or trade process, but that you wrote about, because we're talking to him pretty soon. He's going to be in the studio, Lucas Giolito. We are going to break the news to him that he will be signing with the Atlanta Braves to be with his buddy Reynoldo Lopez. But do you have any other ideas?
That's a lot.
Because he's been playing with him since he was like a kid at this point in the minor leagues. They have traveled everywhere together. So are you going to break his heart and have another team step up with a bigger offer than Atlanta? I actually think there is a decent chance that maybe Atlanta misses out on some stars and goes after like a Giolito and someone else in that category to add up to that mark, and maybe one of them pans out, or both for this season. What do you think?
First of all, I don't know that it would break Giolito's heart to be broken up with Reynoldo Lopez if he's getting a great deal somewhere else. And he's a really interesting free agent, and that's why I wrote about him. He is, of the domestic free agent starting pitchers, the youngest one available, who is not Julio Urias, who is going to be suspended. Different story entirely. So he offers that. He also offers durability, innings pitched. He's 8th since 2018, 8th overall in innings pitched in the major leagues. That's a quality that we've seen rewarded so far in this offseason. And he also still is striking out guys. He struck out, I believe, had the 16th highest rate last year in the major leagues. Now, the problems are he led the majors, or led the American League, I should say, in home runs allowed, 41. And he wasn't as good with Anaheim and Cleveland as he was with the White Sox. Now, I'd be interested to hear from Lucas if all that movement kind of screwed him up. It wouldn't be surprising to me if it did. He had a really crazy 2 months there at the end of the season. And he's a guy that, while he's not Blake Snell or Jordan Montgomery or any of those guys, he is still someone that teams should value in a big way because of the durability, because of the innings, the strikeouts, the age. All that adds up well. And to a team that thinks it can fix pitchers, and there are a number of teams out there that believe that and can do that, I would think he'd be kind of intriguing. So I expect him to do okay, and maybe better than you would think for a guy who allowed 41 homers last year, but he has a lot to offer, and ultimately some team is going to look at him and say, we'll take that guy. That guy might only be a number 4, but we'll take him.
Yep, absolutely. Good stuff. Ken, appreciate the time. Back to reporting, and we'll look out for some trades and signings and all that, and we'll talk to you later this week.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you. Ken Rosenthal, FT Senior Insider, and the lone star of Fair Territory with Ken Rosenthal, which which dropped yesterday on YouTube, on wherever you get your pods. Check it out. Usually about 30 minutes of all the best stuff from the week, his reports, and a lot more, obviously, to cover there if you want to listen to what he just talked about on Monday's show. Thank you, Ken. Also, before we move on to the next topic, there's a few people that were asking follow-ups about the White Sox. So Justin said, will the White Sox sign Lucas Giolito again? And Doc said the White Sox should trade Luis Robert Jr. Best way to do a complete rebuild, not halfway.
We don't say the word in Chicago anymore.
Rebuild?
Because they just went through about 4 of them in a row.
Right.
Got them nowhere.
Somebody said they should trade Luis Robert earlier on this.
Was it you?
show. Oh, it was me.
It might have been.
And
you.
what did I say?
You said, not a chance, bro.
Why? Because there would be there would be an absolute
Uproar
revolt.
of the hundred of fans.
There's a lot of fans.
There's a lot of White Sox fans. I
Also,
I mean, there's not as many Brewer fans, White Sox fans are Brewer fans, but it's close.
first of all, rebuilds suck, and it's called tanking.
Yes,
Okay,
but
that's what it should be called.
Chris
It's called
Getz
tanking.
doesn't want to do that.
That's what I'm saying.
It's
The division, it sucks.
Yeah, it's kind of like Heim
It
Bloom.
sucks compared to the rest of them.
It's kind of like Heim Bloom, right? When he went to the Red Sox, what was his first thing he had to do?
Get rid of
Trade Mookie Betts.
Yeah.
So Chris Getz is going to come in. He got Bummer, and he got some pieces for Bummer. He got 5 players for Bummer.
Sure.
That's great. You need depth. You need players. You need hope all these guys work out, right? If you trade Robert and Cease, and you go into 24, and you're like, our starting rotation is Michael Kopech and
some guys.
Yeah. And our center fielder is, and our catcher is who? And our
Paul DeJong, of course. Sure.
Paul,
Well, they're still going to say that, though, if they trade Dylan Cease.
Okay, but here's the thing.
I mean,
if
you're looking at like Soroka,
you have to come
Jared
out and
Schuster.
say
Their starting rotation is going to be like the Braves B squad from last year.
they're Braves, the Gwinnett Strippers.
The Strippers.
They're going to have to. But my thing is like you don't want to be the GM. No, if you would have come out right away, if you're Chris Getz, right when you get hired as the GM, and you say, "Guess what, guys? Sorry, fans, I didn't like the way Rick and Kenny did it. We're blowing it up, and we're going to start over." Right?
5-year plan.
5-year plan. Give me 5 years as the GM. Right?
Stop it.
Then fans are like, okay, I can see this. Let's give this guy a chance. But his first thing he said is, we're going to try and compete in 24. And then as time went, it's kind of changed a little bit to like, we don't know really what we're going to do and blah, 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 blah. Like, but the White Sox fans, if you talk to them, are just sick of like, oh no, another rebuild. Because they just went through one and they thought they got to 2020 and 2021 and they make the playoffs and they're climbing and they're like, oh, and then 22 hits and 23 hits. And I'll ask Lucas Giolito later when we see him, what happened this year, right? And I'll be fascinated to see his answer. But the White Sox, they don't want to hear that again.
You can't tank.
You can't keep saying every 4 years, 5 years, oh, we're rebuilding again. Because fans eventually are like, gosh, why can't they ever just sustain it? It's like A's. The A's is like, shoo, 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 right? Pirates. And it just
again,
it's just
they're
hard.
in the Central. It's the worst division in baseball. Hands down.
Yeah,
Is
they
it
should
close?
not. For me, they have one guy, and he signed to a great contract, Luis Robert Jr., team friendly. You can't trade him.
He signed for a
can't trade
while
him.
still. That's my
You can't
thing.
trade him. You can't. I don't care if you're doing a rebuild or not, because he's a piece you can build the rest of the team around. You have to have somebody you're building the team around.
Yeah, but you have to also look at value. Who on the trade market has more value than Dylan Cease? I'm not saying he's the best pitcher available.
I think it's fine if they trade Cease and Robert. Now you're tanking.
Yes, 100%. Cease, okay, fine. Cease has 2 years left, right, before he's a free agent this year and next year, 24 and 25. You can get a lot. Now, I said they should have traded him last year at the trade deadline and got everything they could.
Okay.
But they didn't. I don't know.
So you just leave. So you trade. My thing is you trade Cease, and then you leave Luis Robert a lone duck. Like,
well, you still have Moncada, you have Eloy, you have Andrew Vaughn. That's kind of, I don't know if Moncada's mainly in this group, but Vaughn, Robert, Eloy, depending on what they decide to do with him, trade him or not. You got to have like the Cubs had Rizzo, Bryant, right? They had Javi Baez. They had like their core of guys they brought up, and then they went out and supplemented it when they did theirs. The Astros had Altuve, Springer, Bregman, right? When they went out and then they went out.
Yep.
Yeah, they went out and supplemented it with like Verlander and some other guys. You have to have a core. You can't just be like, we're going to trade everybody and hope we find a new core of players. It's so hard, especially now with the anti-tanking where you're not guaranteed the first pick. And I don't know. It would be a bad look. I see it why Kratz would say it, but gosh, as a White Sox fan, it would suck.
You can't do that.
You got to have somebody the fans can say.
Yeah, but isn't it worse to be in the middle? Isn't it worse to be?
They're not in the middle. They're not going to be any good next year, anyways. I don't think, unless they go out and sign a whole new team.
So doesn't that?
Okay, but so they have a shortstop, Colson Montgomery, who's
supposed to be really good.
Supposed to be top 10 prospect in baseball.
Do they have a catcher?
They have a catcher they traded for they really like this year.
The Angels deal.
The Angels guy. Kiro, something like that.
Kiro, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't realize he got traded there.
He got traded away. So they have a shortstop and a catcher. Then you have a center fielder. You have a center fielder who's Luis Robert. So there's your middle, right? You start in the middle. And then you got to figure out, obviously, the pitching. But I don't know. I feel
Vaughn's not a bad player either.
Vaughn's not a bad player.
Like he's a winning player. Yeah,
he's a big league hitter.
I'm just saying.
They have Benintendi in left.
I know you play.
Now, would you rather trade Benintendi or Luis Robert?
Well, obviously, you're not trading that. But I'm saying, and also Benintendi could be a nice player for them next year. I'm just saying. I'm not saying that they're going to make the playoffs next year, but I do think if they tank. And they're like, all right, we're selling you on 2028 now. We're trading Luis Robert, who has years of control left. I think he's a free agent after like 27 or 28. Like, no, I'm sorry. If you feel like that's the case in a couple years again or something, okay. Or if the AL Central suddenly becomes a juggernaut division, sure. But, I mean, we talked the other day about the Tigers signing Kenta Maeda, and they could be a sneaky playoff team. Like, it's not a lock that the Twins make the playoffs again. They're losing some pretty big pitching, and they said they're cutting payroll. They're probably going to trade more pieces from their team this year. They're not like a shoe-in to win that division. I mean, it's just that division is a muddled middle. I think that's important to keep in mind. Like, doing the whole tank job like the White Sox just did for that in that division, or do you want to just try and like reload here and there? The tanking it's too much. They already did that.
Here you go. Luis Roberts' contract, right? 24, $12.5 million. Reasonable.
Nothing for his value.
25, $15 million. Then he has club options the next 2 years for 20 and 20. Those are already going to be picked up unless, something just crazy. So you basically got him for 4 more years. You just talked about the Mets who want to sign Yamamoto, not for 24, but for 25, 26. Again, you have to have a guy that's there that goes through it, and you can sell to people and be like, hey, come play with Luis Robert Jr. Come play with Colson Montgomery.
And will be good when his contract's over?
Now, hopefully.
In 4 years? Dude.
4 years, hopefully.
If
you can turn it around in the
Central.
Central.
4 years in the AL Central?
Yeah, if you can't turn it around that fast, then.
So then they have to go out and spend.
Yeah, of course they do.
So now we're talking about trading Dylan Cease and then going to spend.
Not this year. They're not. We're not talking. This is for the future. This isn't for just this year. Like we said about the Mets. The Mets told those guys, 24, we're going to suck, right? So if you go out and sign Yamamoto, they're not going to be awful. But if you go out and sign Yamamoto, you're signing him to, let's say, 7-year deal. They're not going to be bad for 6 years until the end of his contract. You're signing him because then you have Senga, right? You have Yamamoto. You got Diaz locked up as your closer. You got McNeil. You got Memo. You got Lindor locked up. You got Alvarez, the catcher, there for a long time. Depending on what you do with Pete Alonso. But again, you have to build something. You can't just be like, oh, I'm going to trade everybody and start over, because then you're looking at, you have to have something. And the teams that do it right, the tanking and then the rebuild, everyone looks at the Astros, obviously, but they had Correa, Altuve, Springer, Bregman coming.
And it was also a long time ago at this point that they did that.
But then the Cubs did it, right? But the Cubs had Rizzo, Bryant, Baez coming through the system, right? Coming up. And then they go out and get Lester. They get Lackey. So
you don't think you could get 2 of those 4 guys in a trade for Luis Robert?
Luis Robert, you're getting the world right now. You have 4 years of control.
Yeah.
Thank you. Like, it's you can't tell me that the White Sox are going to compete in the next 2 seasons.
They could in that division.
Dude, that division
of course,
is not good.
The Twins are still the best team in that division, and they're not old. They have an all-star shortstop. They have Julian came up as a big league hitter.
Yeah, I like the Twins.
Like so that's what I'm saying. I get it.
They're not a juggernaut, though.
They're not a juggernaut.
Is going to be a question mark next year.
But
they're cutting payroll.
To me, if you're not going to be a playoff team in 2025, the White Sox, how does that? How do you not?
Well, you have to
even
see how this year
entertain
goes.
Luis Robert just to put butts in the seat?
No, you have to see how this year goes. You can't just trade. You can't just trade him to trade him because be like, oh, we're going to get 4 guys back. Well, here's the thing about prospects: they don't all become stars. I mean, how many?
Yeah, we're not talking about
how many
he's getting. You're getting almost surefire dudes.
No, not always.
I disagree.
I just reviewed Blake Snell's case, and I looked back at that trade. And it's funny because we always make the joke, if the Rays call you about a trade, hang up. The Blake Snell trade did not work out for Tampa Bay. Look back at the trade. And it hasn't even been that long. Did not work out. And Snell had multiple years of control coming off what? It was the World Series. Wasn't it coming off the World Series
after
in 2020?
Yeah.
Like, high value. One of the stars, like Luis Patino, he's already moved on to another team.
Look back at that trade. Isn't he a White Sox? He's a White Sox.
He's on the White Sox. So I'm just saying.
See?
I don't know. To me,
trading
that's
is so hard because you just don't know. You don't know in baseball with anybody because that's why like 50th round draft picks make it, right? Mike Piazza, 63rd round pick.
We talk all the time about Mike Trout being in Anaheim and never making the playoffs. Are we wasting Luis Robert's years in Chicago?
I think.
Why is it not?
I think Luis Robert and the White Sox have an easier path to get to the playoffs because they're in a better. The division is much easier to fix it quickly. And once you're in, anything can happen. We've seen it for years now, right? But the White Sox, to me, have an easier path to rebuild. And they also have the financial wherewithal, if they want to turn it on, to bring in players outside the organization, free agency, trades, whatever it is. because they had a payroll of almost $200 million this year. It was a lot. It was in the top half of the league. They could go more if they want.
But they're not jumping in. They cannot afford any starting pitchers in the free agent market because they don't pay anybody over $100 million.
That's not true.
They could. They just don't.
That's why
That's what
I think.
I'm saying, but they don't. Like, you can't just be like, okay, well, we're going to keep Luis Robert, and then we're going to get Jordan Montgomery and pay our first ever $100 million contract to a guy that's going to get. To me, I think Monty's going to get $180 million.
Yeah, they're not at the top of the market, but they're going to be potentially, if they trade Cease, in that mid-range. And even if they don't, I mean, they might look at a
I don't know.
Marcus
You got
Stroman, bring him across town. You think Stroman's getting $100+ million?
I don't know. I haven't looked into.
I
don't think so. But
I don't think he is.
I mean,
that's
just a gut reaction.
3 years, 75 is my guess, something like that. You might look at a Paxton, obviously injury concern, a Severino, a Waka, a Seth Lugo. None of those guys are getting $100 million plus. You know what I'm saying? There's a lot of guys still, and that's why, one of the fans here asked about Giolito. So just throwing it out there. It's good stuff. All right, so before we get to conversations with Josiah Gray and Lucas Giolito coming up, they will be here in Mandalay Bay in Vegas with us, sitting next to Kratz, because he's wearing the most cologne today. I don't know.
That's hard to beat you in that.
I do want to get to a topic that for this show I feel like is relevant, and we need to peel back some layers. Okay, so let's show some money moves, different kind of money move segment today. Bob Nightingale putting this tweet out, and I'll also give you some more context from Ken Rosenthal about playoff share money. So the Rangers championship share, 61 full shares, was a little over $500,000 per person. The Diamondbacks NL pennant share, they gave out 71 full shares, was a little over $300K. Both teams were generous, knowing this is life-changing money for the tireless clubhouse employees and support staff. And if you're unaware of how this works, it comes out after the World Series. They figure out what the money is from the gates, from the playoffs, not for the games, only for the games that you're guaranteed.
Only the first 4 games.
First 4 games
first
in,
3,
in a
yes.
7-gamer, first 3. In the wild card, it's the first 2, if that makes sense, because you can't pay people based off games that are later on in a series, because then it could alter the integrity of the game, because people would be like, let's play a longer series so we make more money, because someone has asked that before. They're like, they should pay him for game 6 and 7. I'm like, no, I'm against that part. That does not make sense.
You know who gets that money, though?
League owners, teams, let's go.
Rob
yes.
Manfred.
But anyway, this is an important thing. It gets talked about in baseball a lot, and obviously on this show we can really dive in. Just one more thing before we do that, because Ken Rosenthal wrote quite a bit about it as well, and I thought he had some interesting points about Evan Longoria being on the Diamondbacks, and he was one of the guys leading the charge in the meeting, being like, listen, we can change people's lives. Apparently, you know who was one of the best back in the day? Ricky Henderson would tell guys for his playoff teams in the clubhouse, like, screw that. It's like, you give it to, this guy and change his life. Like, the players that are on the team for the year, they get the playoff shares. They're in, right?
It's
the
auto.
conversations that occur.
If you're on the roster for a certain amount of time, you automatically get a full share. So that's the people get a full share. Even if you're injured, you're on the roster. It's so hard, though, in these meetings, because you forget people, and there's so many people that help you during a year, and then you feel terrible. And I've said in these meetings get heated, because there are people that are like, oh, let's give Scott Braun a full share, and then there's somebody else like, what the fuck did Scott Braun, what did he do? And then you get players arguing over who should get what, and you can give cash grants, you can give half shares, you can give quarter shares, you can give eighth of a share, you can give $500, you can give, it's one of the best worst meetings as a player, when you get like, oh, we're gonna have a shares meeting when you're in the playoffs, and everyone's like, oh no, because it always leads to some infighting, and then you forget somebody.
And these meetings happen when? Before the playoffs.
They happen,
right?
2 to 3 days before the season ends.
Yeah, I mean, unless you're a team that like you have like a 10, like you're the Braves this year, like, okay, we're making the playoffs, guys.
Yeah,
because all the teams that make the playoffs get a share. It just slowly goes down. It's not just the World Series teams. So, but you get that. You have your guy come in, whoever, like your main clubhouse guys, and you're like, okay, shares meeting, and you're like, oh gosh, what? And then you're like, okay, it could be, because it's great. You're like, oh, I'm going to get extra money, and these people are going to get money. But then you're like, okay, we have 12 clubhouse guys, right? And say random number 12, 10. Let's say 10. And you're like, okay, do we give all 10 of these guys full shares? Do we only give the guys that travel a full share? Because you can also say like, hey, there's five guys that work on the home side and 5 guys that work on the visiting side. You can be like, all right, we'll give our head guy one. And then you're like, why am I giving the visiting clubhouse guy a full share? He's helping the other team. And then you got guys that argue. It's just, and every team is different, and every team has their guys who stand up and say whatever. But gosh, it is a tough meeting.
I've seen so many sides of it, and the whole time you're talking, I'm like, oh man, I remember when this. Oh man, and then that happened. Oh shoot, I can't. Like, we had a guy one time, and I'm really gonna be vague, so I don't put the team out there because, like this tweet said, it is life-changing money. It was life-changing money for me because every year I'm on the minimum contract, maybe a little bit extra, later on in my career. You make the playoffs. This is 6 figures for a month of playing. Now, guys who are making $10, $12, $15 million a year, they're like, it's not that much, but it's some cool chump change that I'm going to buy a Lamborghini with if we win, like stuff like that. So it is life-changing money. And seeing people react, seeing people come up to us in spring training, seeing people text videos like saying thank you so much for voting me a share. I had no idea you guys were going to vote me a half a share. I just got $100,000 for, I know you guys lost the World Series. I wanted to win the World Series bad, but they just got $100,000. That's life-changing money. And when these meetings happen, I've seen meetings where they're like, no, unless you have dirt in your cleats, you're not getting jack. And to me, that's hurtful because I was constantly like, yes, I'm still getting a full share, so it's not on me, but it's the people that are your support staff that you need to take care of. If you don't, you're so arrogant to think that you did this all on your own. And it also brings up in my mind, there was a team that I played for, and they had, a lot of teams have them, the guy who finds tips for hitters, for pitchers. And so hitters were like, dude, this guy's awesome. This guy and this guy really help with this. Full share. A pitcher stood up, a relief pitcher stood up and goes, who the heck is that? They're like, oh, the guy that's over there by he's always in that place. And they're like, I never knew who he was. He never says anything to me. So you go a whole season. A guy was on the team the whole season, and he doesn't know who this support staff is. Like, he's like, I don't want to give him a half a share. Like, what about if it's a pitcher? What about the bullpen catcher? He should get a full share. Like, okay, well, he's already getting a full share. Well, what about the massage therapist? And then somebody's like, I don't use a massage therapist. Why would I want to give up? So the greed really, really pisses me off. But you also can't sit here and go, oh, well, the Rangers must have been more greedy than the Diamondbacks because they only gave 61 and the Diamondbacks gave 71. That's not how it works.
No,
some teams have different staff and everything.
Yeah,
and that's my last point.
People do different things. I remember in 2005, we forgot our advanced scout. And so we come to spring training and we're like,
you forgot.
Man, that makes my hands
there's
sweat.
so
you
many.
Told me that.
So you're literally, okay, so it was Canerco when we did it in 2005. And Canerco calls the meeting. We're all in there. And you literally get a list of the players who were full shared. And then you write in names of people that should get them. And you start writing. And then you get down to you're like 70 people in. You're always going to forget somebody. So our
security guard.
Yeah. So our advanced scout, we come to spring training and he's like, man, I didn't get a share from you guys. So we literally, a bunch of us wrote checks to him. And 10 of us got together and wrote him a check. I mean, it didn't equate to a full share, but we all were like, hey, let's chip in a certain amount and got him, a nice, hey, here's a nice, sorry, we fucked up. We fucked this one up. I'm sorry. Here. That's great. We handed him an envelope full of, here's, whatever, I forget, I don't even remember what the number was, but here's checks. Go, sorry, we messed up. And he was so happy. Awesome. But, there's always a thing where you
try not to,
but you can't. There's so many people, many people that do so many things. You just can't always remember everybody, and it sucks.
Okay, ready? I'm going to blow your mind. So you're telling me that the biggest time of the year, playoff time, is coming up, and you're forcing a bunch of players into a room to get in heated debates right when you want your flow and your chemistry. Hold up to be at its finest. You are debating about how much money should go to team employees. They're not union members, team employees. This smells to me like something that should be done on the team side and figured out. Like, this is your job. This is what you get in a playoff share. Like, that goes in your contract, or I know they don't do that with a lot of people now. Why is this on the players?
Because this is the players' share of the pot.
Okay.
So what they do is they take the revenue from the first 4 games and they split it, and that goes into the 7-game series, and it goes into a pot, and they split it. And this is the players' shares, because the players don't get paid in the postseason.
I understand.
This is basically your paycheck for the postseason.
But it's not as if like we found this like on, some ancient grounds. Like, this is how it must be done.
But the players don't want the team picking who gets the money. You see what I'm saying? Because let's say you have a guy. Let's say you have a September call-up guy that's there for. There's a guy like that was there for a week. If someone gets hurt and he comes up for a relief pitcher for a week.
The Diamondbacks just did this. Anyone that was on the playoff roster, even if they were barely
if you're on the playoff
team,
roster, you automatically
Bryce Jarvis
always get a full share.
Jordan Lawler, guys that barely played.
They usually do it quarter share, quarter share, quarter share. So the farther you make it.
Okay.
So Jordan Lawler would have gotten a quarter share for the time he was in the big leagues for the regular season. Then he gets a quarter share for being on the wild card roster. Another quarter share for being on the NLDS.
Right.
And then another quarter share for NLCS. Then he's fully
okay.
vested.
So I'm just saying, like, players, that's one thing. Figure that out with players. Okay. Team staff, put in a different category. This is not
hard,
something set in stone. It's not hard. They make plenty of fucking money. Whether they have to both come together and say, hey, like, this is how we split it. So let's put, 5% aside, and we figure that out with our team employees.
The owners don't trust the players. Don't trust the owners.
That's
and
fair.
The teams. That's why it's on the players.
Okay.
That's why. Because the players want it that way also. The players want to be able to have the final say, and it's why it's in the CBA, is because the players want to have the say to the – because a team could say, well, I'm going to give my general manager a full share bonus for putting the team together. Well, and as players, we could be like, well, we all hate the GM. We're not giving him – he makes enough money. We don't need to give it to him. We'd rather give the full share to – the third clubhouse guy that washes my jock every night. Like, he deserves way more. The general manager's making $3 or $4 million. That guy's making $40,000. I can give him $500,000. That's 10 years of salary that he just made.
Life changing.
Yeah, it changes the whole trajectory. And a lot of these kids are young. I remember when we won in 05, we had kids that were in college. That were like struggling in college, and we give them. Our shares weren't this big at the time, but like you give them a half share, it's like $100,000. They're like.
And how much do you think they're making to do a full-time job with the team? $30,000?
25 at that time, 25,
yeah.
30 grand.
Yeah.
A full-time bat boy
tips, yeah.
Doing now tips is where that's the other part. Man, you just keep bringing up so many thoughts in my mind. But what you're saying, Scott, and this is my gripe, is teams are now going to, because staffs are ginormous, they're going to some of these analytic guys that they're putting on the field, and they're saying, I know you could probably get $150,000, $200,000 job, but do you want to come and coach in the big leagues? Do you want to come and be part of our staff in the big leagues? Well, yeah. Okay, we can only pay you $80,000. We can only pay you $90,000. It's like, well, wait, whoa. Why am I going to take a $60,000 to $100,000 pay cut just to come and be a coach in the big leagues? And they're like, because we're going to make the playoffs, and you get a playoff share.
The Astros can do that every year.
Wait a minute. Why do the Astros – we just talked about the fact that this is the players' money. Why do the Astros hire people based on the fact that, the players are going to give you a share? All of a sudden, players – and I heard this in a meeting too – players are like, whoa. Why are we giving this guy a share? I know he helped us, but he has – because you get to know these guys. He took a pay cut to come to this team. He took a pay cut to come to this team and was given the assurance that you're making the playoffs. No. Like, to me, that's not fair. And I don't know how to fix it, but you can't sit there and give away, like, hey, I want you to come over here and join this team. Because
but you don't know they're going to make the playoffs. They could have a bomb season.
So that is a risk.
That's a risk. That's like buying a stock. Like,
It's like going, okay, the Astros want to hire you. And they're like, okay, we've made the playoffs. We've won however many times. Let's go. We're going to give you $60,000. But you know what the playoff share was last year in the ALCS? It was $100,000. So you're going to make way more than you're making in your job now.
Mm-hmm.
That's not fair.
That's interesting. So we could spend an hour on that. We do
there's
have
some
guests.
really greedy dudes.
We do have guests. Yeah, they're greedy dudes. Non-greedy dudes about to join us, okay? Very, very gracious with their time. Josiah Gray of the Washington Nationals and Lucas Giolito coming up in hour 2 of FT Live. Let's hit it.
So I can be free. I take the weight on my shoulders. I feel the sky come down on me. And I can't hold it much longer. Gotta let go so I can be free. Yeah, yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah, yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah, yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah, yeah.
Hour number 2 of FT Live. Braun, Pierzynski, Erik Kratz, and all-star starting pitcher Josiah Gray sitting next to us to kick off the second hour. That's always going to be with you now. Forever.
Always, thankfully. But no, it's a good introduction. Thank you guys for having me. Excited to talk about some baseball.
It's great to have you, dude. So how's Vegas so far for you? And obviously we're not going to get into like the play-by-play of what's going on in a player's meeting, but you're young, dude. You're 25 years old, and you're representing your team, other players. What's that like responsibility-wise?
It's awesome. I mean, it's a lot to handle, but, you know, the Nationals and our players, you know, they're relying on me to give them good information from these meetings. So it's been a lot of fun to just see all the guys and just chit-chat and just learn more about what's going on in the industry.
What have you learned? I mean, that you can tell us, obviously. I mean, I know this is all so super secret.
I mean, baseball, the business is rebounding because, you know, COVID, obviously, everything took a hit. But now, you know, they're starting to see an upturn, and fans are loving the new rules, the new engagement, and, you know, kind of we're seeing a new element of baseball.
Do you feel like you got forced into being at these meetings? Do you feel like some of like the
Oh yeah, he got forced. Oh no, I'm so forced to go to Vegas.
to go to
for 4
Vegas
days.
What a
for,
tough life.
Yeah.
for 4 days? Yeah, right. I know you're like, I'm gonna stay out here as long as I have somebody to throw with. I'm gonna stay out here for like
Yeah,
7
exactly.
days.
Exactly. As long as I can get my work in, I'm like, why not? You know, it's a beautiful place, good weather.
Did you find a place to get your work in?
Yeah, so we've been working at the UNLV baseball facility. Pretty cool.
See,
I think it's a pretty sick facility, so we've been all good.
See, now they made the adjustment because when I went to the meetings, it was in New York.
Oh,
Where are you gonna throw in downtown Manhattan?
Times Square.
Like it's snowing up there right now.
If we would have known Josiah back then, he could have had us over to his high school. We could have thrown over there.
Yeah.
In the
Could've
gym.
gone in the gym, yeah.
Well, they've come a long way. Now you're able to go over to UNLV. Dudes are throwing. When
Yeah.
you're over there throwing,
Mm-hmm.
are you looking at other dudes who maybe are hitting on the field and you're like, I got you out?
First of all, hold on, before he answers this, if there's somebody hitting on the field right now, they need to go.
This is all. It's a
Yeah.
lot of young guys.
I don't care.
Okay, in the cage, you hear the
Did you come to
beautiful
Vegas
sound
for
of,
4 days or 3 days? Dude, just
hey, there's guys.
understand
They're locked in.
pitchers. I know.
I think the pitchers are getting their work in. I didn't see any hitters hitting. But, you know, the pitchers, we have our routine. You got to build up for February. So I only saw pitchers getting their throwing in, and that was it.
Yeah, but are you a little like hating on like? There you go. Like I'm an all-star. Like when you see Suitor B, were you like, dude, you throw this is December. This is November.
Yeah.
I throw harder than you in your regular season. Do you give Suitor B a hard time?
I can't give those guys a hard time. Those guys have been doing it way longer than I have.
Okay.
They're like, who's this young guy? You guys are like, keep doing what you're doing. But I'm like, man, I want to keep my head down and just keep playing baseball. That's it.
Okay. That's fair. That's what you got. That's what got you here.
Yeah.
Well, not here. Car got you here, but
I feel
all-star game.
Yes.
So, Josiah, give me the lowdown on the Nats this coming season, right? So,
Of course.
all of the regular season last year in baseball, and you know the Phillies are really good.
Mhm.
The Mets are probably going to spend money and
Of
you
course.
would think be better. The Marlins made the playoffs. Where are you guys at? What did the team say right at the end of the
Mhm.
season?
I think with us, we year over year, we made a lot of improvements. Everyone progressed a little bit. C.J. Abrams, myself, Lane Thomas, list goes on. Mackenzie Gore as well. So, you hope that everyone continues to progress. So I think we won 71 games last year.
Mm-hmm.
So now, how do we continue to win those close games? Because that's what it always comes down to. You look at the Marlins, they won, 30 one-run games or something like that, and they made the playoffs. So if we can do that and win the close games, I think we'll be a lot better and be knocking on the door of the playoffs.
Now, I always said at the end of the year, I watched you guys play because you guys were in, the Braves, the Phillies, all these teams that were fighting. I'm like, you don't want to play the Nats because I know you guys only won, what'd you say, 71 games,
71,
right?
yep.
But you guys were like pesky.
Yeah.
You guys could swing it a little bit. You guys had just enough pitching. Like if I was and that's to me shows you guys are coming up, right? Because you have all these young guys like you mentioned, Abrams, Gore, yourself, Keibert Ruiz behind the plate,
Ruiz,
right?
yep.
Lane Thomas. You got a lot of young guys that are still trying to figure it out.
Honestly, yeah.
So obviously 71. I'm looking, get to 500 maybe this year.
Absolutely. I think you look at our record post All-Star break. We were winning some series against playoff caliber teams. Boston, Milwaukee. Obviously, the Yankees didn't have the year they wanted, but we took a series in New York. So these are, big series that we were winning 2 out of 3, sweeping. So if we can continue to do that and then win the close games before the All-Star break, not hit a funk early, I think we can, surprise some people.
Do you see, he was just like, hey, you guys could make it to 500. Do you sit there as a competitor? And tell me if I'm wrong. Maybe you're not a competitor, but I've watched the pitch.
Got it, yeah.
So
yeah.
Do you sit there and go, 500? Really? Like, are we doing this? Like, or is that something that you're kind of just reticent to? Like, hey, you know what? This is what it is, and this is where we're going to go. Or do you try to have a different kind of talk? Or are there coaches that have different kinds of talk? I know you guys have some rollover in coaching, but like Davey, is there a different talk about what your goals are for the season?
Yeah, I think this upcoming spring, we're going to have, our initial meeting that first day when we're all together as a team. And it's going to be like, guys, we're here. Now we got to really take the next step because, we did the easy part. We went from 56 wins to 71. That was, improvement. So now it's like, how do we go from 71 to back into contention? So I know Davey early on is going to have those conversations, Rizzo as well, and saying everyone has to, be on their A game from day one because we want to really, get back to knocking on that door.
What is Davey like day to day? I've been around Davey a little bit, but what's he like? I mean, I've seen him go crazy like he did this year. He's crawling on the ground, right?
Yeah.
And
awesome.
laying on the ground and like the catcher, and he's like doing all this stuff. What's he like? I mean, I go in and do games for Fox, and we get 20 minutes with the manager, and he's great. But what's he like on a day-to-day basis?
He's as even-keeled as I've seen. He's riding for his guys, and he understands, we have a younger roster. So there's going to be some growth that has to happen throughout a course of, a 6-month season. So I've been with him since 2021. I was one of the first players of the rebuild with the Nationals. And he's as even-keeled, if you have a good start, great. If you don't have a good start, he's still pumping you up, making sure you're all right, you're getting your work in for the next start. So, I can't say anything but good things about him. And I'm happy he's at the helm of, what we're going to do in the future.
You think we're in the off season right now? This is like to me, this is the beginning of the off season. Obviously, everyone's working out, and I don't think working out is like, oh wow, I'm working out. Like you're supposed to be. Like you're a professional athlete. Do you hear him say, okay, this is day 1 of spring training, and look around and go, no, everybody else they've been pushing it this whole time. Like, are you guys talking to each other in the offseason as a team? Like, are you texting Lane Thomas and being like, Lane, I need you to hit more homers this year. I need you to, or is there not much conversation from teammates of guys that are coming back?
Honestly, you guys have probably, dealt with this. It's more so the fantasy football chat that's going on right now.
But plus the teams can't talk to you, right? Isn't there like the new CBA
I
has a thing
that's
from like December 1st to like
The
February
quiet time.
1st or something like where they can't even
I think that's a thing.
communicate with you or something?
I've talked to our strength coach a few times, but that's been it. But no, it's more so the fantasy football chat. But then obviously people put in, little baseball banter here and there about like, if you're getting your work in and what you're doing. So everyone's positive. Everyone's in a good mindset for next year.
Well, how's your squad?
It's not good.
Oh,
I
all right,
needed.
so who's on your squad? Let's get into it.
Oh,
You can
man.
only be good at one thing.
No, that's not true.
Guy's an
You're
all-star.
good at
He's like,
football.
hey, you know what? I'll take another all-star. My fantasy team loses.
We've had
Yeah,
a tough
Justin
year.
Jefferson, probably.
I have Justin Fields.
I'm sorry.
Who?
Oh,
Yeah,
I'm a Bears fan. I'm sorry. All right.
I
Nice
needed
waiver
him.
pickup.
Just like hit him right away.
It's
with like
They won, though.
this
They're
guy.
down.
This has been my
Get you
first
fantasy.
year playing fantasy football since I was a kid, so I'm wearing it a bit. I have Fields, I have Kyler Murray, Brock Purdy, a few other guys, but I'm in contention for last right now. So
Uh-oh. Do you guys do a punishment?
yeah.
there's not like an agreed to punishment.
That's actually
So-
worse.
Yeah.
Because then someone's just going to throw something out there, and then
Exactly.
people will rally
They'll be
around
like,
it. Like,
"Oh."
yeah.
Oh, yeah, because I'm not
We're
last.
gonna make
Yeah.
Josiah do
It's so
something
fun
crazy.
because they're not in last.
You have to just set it right away and be like, all right, guys, like steak dinner or whatever. Like, I'm not wearing some costume,
Yeah.
on June 10th.
So I'm hoping I don't have to wear the brunt of that, but it hasn't been a great year.
Like, be the bat boy for a spring training game.
Something crazy like that, probably.
No, that's why I'm like, push the dinner or something like that. Make it easy
Yeah.
on yourself.
Exactly.
All right, so I want you to play fantasy commissioner for a day. What would you do in the sport? It could be a rule. It could be business-wise, how to make our game. I mean, we work on this every day as a
Of
show,
course.
like how to make our game like more fun, more transparent, more authentic, but go wherever you want to go. It's like, hey, dude, you run the league for a day. What do you
Of
want to do?
course. I think, everyone's really enjoyed like the in-depth looks of like a Hard Knocks or a
Mhm.
like the quarterback season. I don't know how MLB will implement it or who would be okay with it, but I think doing something like that would be really fun to see, the day-to-day grind, even more in depth of like, hey, this is how this starter is preparing from this start. Obviously, you got to keep away the confidential stuff, but, maybe take a peek into how they're, analyzing a hitter. Like, it doesn't have to be in depth to where they're giving away their secrets,
Yeah.
but I think that'd be really cool for the fans to see and boost engagement a little bit.
Do you think we suck at that as baseball?
Because
Because like,
yes, it's okay.
like you said the things that are obvious. Like you're like, well, we can't give away secrets or anything. But you're talking to Corbett like that doc on QBs was awesome. And they're like, hey, I'm going through my playbook and I'm when we do Patrick Mahomes was doing trick plays. He's like, the one time we created this trick play because the guy was late to Disney, or he went to Disney World and he loved watching whatever, and we called it like the Mickey Mouse play, that kind of stuff. Like, that's kind of in-depth stuff
Of course.
But do you think baseball's sitting there like, oh no, I don't want anybody to know how Josiah Gray throws his slider or how he throws his sinker.
Yeah.
Like, we have cameras that can like go and see if you have a hangnail on your finger now. Like, there's no, like, why do we try to be so secret in baseball? And does that get in the way?
I don't know why baseball is so different, but I think ESPN, with the Sunday Night Baseball, has been really cool to get the guys mic'd up. Like, that's the first barrier, I guess you can say. And then you have the All-Star game and things like that. So they're making lengths and strides to, give fans that more access. But I think there's obviously more to go. And, it'll be interesting to see if baseball puts out a quarterback series or Hard Knocks just to give fans even more.
Who's in the way? Is it the players? Is it the teams?
And would you do it if you were approached with the right situation?
Yeah, with the right situation, I think that could be really fun, enjoyable. You could, show some more personality than, what fans may see already. I don't know who's in the way. I think it's probably players, teams, not wanting to slip up and give away, certain things that they're doing to prepare.
But it's not a live show.
So
but
they
still.
can always be edited.
You
so
feel like
well, okay.
We're leery.
Okay, he's so young. You don't know. They did this already
did they?
with the Marlins. They had it called it the franchise.
Yeah. And they did it with the
Oh.
Giants too, right?
gosh.
I think they tried it with the Giants.
that was when
Wow.
Vogelson,
It was on
when
Showtime.
Vogie got called up.
Oh.
That was like
They followed the whole
2000
team.
2012, I think.
Oh,
they did
so
the
they
Marlins.
already.
Because that was when they had Ozzy and they brought Jose Reyes and Burley.
Oh.
It was before like the
I
Netflix
didn't know
world
that. Yeah.
took over, and then it's like there's a million options and docs are cooler, right?
Yeah.
But it was kind of a thing. But
But
Oh,
but
well,
I
there
know
you go.
the players that did it, and they were like, it was too much.
Okay, there you go. Then.
They like Burley I talked to, and even Ozzy, who loved the camera, and then Ozzy got fired, so they're like, well, we got to shut this down, and like,
Why?
Because the players were like, everywhere we went, there was a camera, and so they were like, oh, we didn't feel like we could really be ourselves and all this. I think in football it's a little bit different because you're not giving away, like he said, like, oh, I'm doing my scouting report, and this is what I look for. Well, then if I'm a hitter and I'm watching that, and I'm like, well, next time I face Josiah Gray, I'm
exactly.
like,
Yep.
oh, he's going to attack me this way.
Don't. It's just one instant.
I'm just saying.
Josiah Gray's not like, wow, this is my 9th All-Star game. I'm going to keep my same scouting report when I'm facing Austin Riley for the 93rd time. Like, you're always changing.
I'm just saying.
Go on the
I
doc
could
and
also
be
make
like,
a case. Some of that stuff would be even like too in depth, and then you're ruling out like some casual fans. You know
it'll
what I'm
be
saying?
it'll be boring.
But
Like,
I think
they're
people would
looking
like to
for-
see the travel because people don't really understand. People are like, oh, you fly on a charter jet, and you're like, yeah, but it still sucks,
Yeah.
right? You're still sucks
Still,
getting in at 4 in the morning,
Oh man.
right? You play, you're on the road and you play a night game, and you got to fly 3 hours.
Oh
You
man.
get in at 4 in the morning, and then they're like, oh yeah, by the way, game tomorrow, and everyone's like, oh, you don't get off days every, there's a lot of things, and I think like in the clubhouse, people would like to see dynamics in the clubhouse
Absolutely.
and how it works, but I don't know if you need to. I mean, yeah, I get, if you could find somebody like we'll use you that would actually sit down and be like, all right, this is how we go through our scouting report, not show specific things,
Yeah.
but talk about like generalities. I think people would be into that kind of stuff because people
Absolutely.
don't know. When you talk to people, they're like, well, how'd you prepare for a game? And you're like, you wouldn't even understand like the info they give you.
Yeah.
I would have to literally sit you down at a computer and have you look over my shoulder and walk
See.
you through everything that I'm looking at.
100%.
Yeah, I mean, I think
100%.
but I think it would be a better for it with a pitcher too, because you have. I think one of the barriers is everyday guys. You walk in the clubhouse and be like, oh great, Josiah the camera guy's here again. Where a pitcher, hey dude, like today's my start day.
Yeah.
Like let's get in the flow of this. I'm gonna do it 32 times. Don't like just not on my start day. You got me the other 4 days.
Yeah, but people are going to want to see a start day. That's what's intriguing to them.
Yeah.
And that's
Right.
fine,
And
but
also-
no interviews.
Yeah,
I don't know.
but-
We're
but
We'll
also
do that
setting it
after.
out.
I'm telling
Yeah.
you, there's a way to do this. You
I
can do that
agree.
after. And the other days, like here's what you're missing too is they just want to know, like, okay, on the days that he's not pitching, like from when you wake up to when you go to bed, the whole day, right?
Yeah.
Where's he eating? Who's he hanging out with and talking to?
Like
if
a
he's in
bullpen
the
day.
weight room, right? Bullpen day, everything.
Yeah.
That's what people want to see.
I
'Cause
agree.
He can't. I mean, you
Yeah.
can do a little bit of that, Josiah, on
course.
your own, and obviously, like your Instagram's starting to pop. But like, there's only so much you can do before. I mean, you tell me. You probably go like, all right, I don't want to just be doing this all the time.
Yeah.
It's better if it comes from someone else.
Yeah, I think you got to make it authentic. You got to want to, let people in and show that other side.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I think it's a barrier that's going to be, probably attacked again within the next 3 to 5 years, just because there's so much, I think, media availability that players, if they're open to the idea, can, have some benefits from it.
What would they find out? What would they find out if they did just a Josiah Gray doc? Would it be exciting, boring, or would they be like, dang, I didn't know he was like that?
I think it'd be kind of like, I didn't know he was like that, because when I get to the ballpark, I'm as busy as can be from 1 to 7. I try to maintain the routine. As you guys know, you want to be prepared every day and have that not be what detracts your performance. So I'm, on it, whether it's working out, getting my treatment in, getting my throwing in, obviously. And then obviously being out there for the game is the biggest part. I really enjoy, rooting for, obviously our pitchers, but our hitters. I love watching them, take at bats. So fans would probably be like, man, he's on the go. But, I enjoy that part of it.
Let's do it. I'm going to get a camera. I'm going to follow you around all year. We're going to put it on YouTube.
You're gonna do it.
Not me, but
Right,
I'll find some. I'll
You
get,
got some people.
I'll get Claudia or Jesse or Mark to do it.
Yeah, one of our behind the scenes people.
Yeah, one of our behind the.
You don't want him following you.
All right,
I don't want to follow. That's too much. I have pitchers.
He's
But
busy.
I love where he goes from 1 to 7, and then I'm a starting pitcher, and at 7, it's like,
It really
oh,
is.
I'm gonna put my feet
really-
up.
it really
is.
I know. It's
He's
like,
like, finally,
He's like, wear that.
my tasks are done. I
Yeah.
get to watch the game. Get to watch us win a ball game. So that's
And then
always fun.
You got
And
a
then the
dream
sweaty
seat?
catchers come in and they're like,
They're grinding.
what? Josiah smells all nice.
Yeah.
He got a
he's
shower.
on his 3rd coffee.
Yeah, he's
sitting over
like-
there going,
He's like, hey, great job, Kabert.
I gotta make sure to go give Caber some love because I'm like, man, he's grinding, but
Every day.
that's his position.
And then, and then
These
starting
guys
pitchers
know.
always know where the camera is too. It's like when the camera goes on the pitching coach, they're always like,
Yeah.
always.
Good. I like that. They should play to the camera a little bit.
No.
All right, I'm going to switch it up a little bit because it's free agent time. Jamer Candelario, free agent. You played with him. Obviously, then he got dealt, but he had a freaking sick year on a 1-year deal, like I guess kind of a prove it deal. But he was really good and one of the better players traded at the trade deadline.
Absolutely.
So, tell me what he was like and how much money is he going to make?
He was great. I think adding him, Dom Smith, and Trevor Williams was really big for our clubhouse. 3 veteran guys that have seen it all, done it all. And it was really enjoyable to play with Jamer. We all know what he does, on the field, but off the field, I think he, brought the clubhouse together. There were plenty of times, we lose a 1-run game or something. He comes in the clubhouse and says, "Keep your head up, guys." And we come back the next day and we win, pretty handily. So he was really big just with the vibes, and I think he did pretty well when he went over to Chicago. I'm not too sure, but I think he's going to get a really good deal that sets him up because, he played on a 1-year deal and did everything the team could have asked for and more, So I think, he's setting himself up pretty well, and I'm excited to see where he goes.
So we do this with everyone we have on. Tell me why the Nats are going to sign Shohei Ohtani.
Why the Nats are going to sign Shohei Ohtani? Because we will give him.
Oh yeah, we got it. We got
it. Wow. We will give him a lot of money, which he's worth. He will boost attendance handily. Every lineup could use an elite bat that hits 50 home runs a year, and every rotation can use a pitcher that strikes out 200, 250, and throws Cy Young innings. So that's why he'll be a national.
It ain't your money. It ain't your money, is it?
He's going to be a national.
Well, it could be eventually. It could be eventually.
It will be
a national because everyone could use a player like him, and I think if we get a player like him in the fold, it would boost everything in DC, and we'd be right in contention again.
How much do people talk about 2019 there, like even in the organization? There was people joking the other day. I was reading an article about the Angels, speaking of Ohtani, and like they love their 2002 team and all the guys from there involved. Which that was a minute ago.
Of course.
This is
05 White Sox.
Hey, dude, that hurts my heart because I lost to that team in the LCS. Okay, so we're trying to
you won. So
we're trying to
good.
dig it in.
Oh,
Thank
man.
you.
But I mean, also, is there anyone? I mean, Davey was there. Who else is there? Anyone left from the roster?
Victor Robles.
Oh yeah. Okay.
Tanner Rainey.
Oh yeah.
Pat Corbin, obviously.
Yep.
I might be missing a guy here or there, but those are the 3 right off the top of my head.
Yeah.
That I can.
I gotta ask you about Corbin because he got off to like a historically bad start this year, and he turned it around at the end. He was. Does he talk to you guys about what he's going through? Does he? Because just honestly, at the beginning of the year, he was like, you were like, oh man, dude, oh man, how long can they keep running him out there? And then I don't know about May-ish, June-ish, it was like a complete 180, and he became nasty Patrick Corbin again.
Yeah, honestly, with the way things have gone the last few years, he's handled it, as best as anyone can. He shows up every day, ready to pitch, hasn't missed a start. So yeah, when he started to find that success, you're obviously rooting for him because he's obviously gone through a lot, and he's one of the pillars of our rotation. And when he goes, we all go. So it's been a lot of fun just being with him over the last 2 or 3 years, and when he's firing on all cylinders, it's so much fun to watch. And he's throwing a sinker now, and he's throwing the nasty slider still, and he's still a lot of fun to watch.
Did you get to spend any time with Strasburg? I mean, not necessarily this year. I don't think he was with the team, but ever in the past, have you had combos with him?
So last year, 2022, he was rehabbing with us, obviously, and getting to watch his first start back against Miami. It felt like all was right in the world. Strasburg was back, and obviously he didn't pitch great, but it was just like, all right, now you can see him getting better, progressively better, and working through it. And obviously, things didn't work out in his favor, but being around him is just so cool. Just the way he sees the game and analyzes it is really, really cool.
Was he quiet, like for someone like you, right? Because you're younger in the league. He's been around, or he had been around for a while in the league, but he's not a super he's shy. He's not a super like media friendly guy. Did you guys get to like spend time with him, or did you at least try? Like, I know these guys would have gone up to him and been like, hey dude, like, I know you don't talk much, but let me spend 30 minutes with you right now and pick your brain.
Honestly, yeah. Last year, he went out of his way to before a day game, I even think, he sat me down and said, hey, I went through all of your numbers. This is what you do well. This is what you need to do to continue to progress. And I'm not going to go in depth with what he was saying.
This is our show now. See,
Nobody's watching. This is awesome.
It was like a conversation I haven't really had before. Just his 3-minute in-depth look of like, hey, this is your simple plan that you need to execute from here on out. And I had no idea he was researching that. And I thought that was like really, insightful and really thoughtful from a guy like him that, he doesn't talk as much, but, he's still watching, he's still researching, and, have the utmost respect for him, and what a career he had.
So talking about him, he makes a lot of money. Who pays for all the dinners when y'all go out?
It's a combination of guys. Pat Corbin.
Better be more Pat Corbin.
Yeah. Pat's on
He's got to let that.
140.
That's what I mean.
140, I think.
That's what I mean. It shouldn't be a combination. He should just be like.
There's not a lot of dudes making a lot of money though.
Well, that's why I asked.
No, they don't.
Corbin.
No, they don't.
We'll see.
They don't have a lot of guys.
They don't.
That's what I said.
Yeah.
We'll see. We got some guys in ARB now, Lane Thomas, and some guys due for raises. So we'll see what the team dinners look like this year or next year.
Are Pat's arms going to get a little shorter?
I don't want to get into that.
Do all stars? Did you get into your pocket a little bit?
A few times. It's more when I'm with friends.
Outside of the game.
Yeah, honestly.
They don't sound like friends. They sound like leeches.
No, come on. When I'm with friends, I definitely, foot the bill. But when it's the team, Pat does a lot of the foot in the bill. And, he's a vet that's awesome. Trevor as well, Trevor Williams.
Okay.
Yeah.
So all those guys are
Poor
awesome.
Pat. Poor Pat, man. He's like, he looks around. He's like, man, I got 25 other young guys. I'm gonna pay for dinner every night. He's like, please bring in somebody else. And they get into Strasburg, go on the road trips.
They go into Miami, and everyone's like, oh, let's go have a team dinner. You see Pat's like, guys, I'm so tired. Yeah. I'm so tired. He's like, I'm playing for free this year, paying for all these team dinners.
No chance.
Oh, man. No chance. What's the most expensive team dinner y'all had?
Oh, I don't know.
Close. City. What city you think?
We've had a few.
You never need to have more. That's how you get about 500.
Yeah, I don't know. We'll see.
I think that could be a job. What? They're always bringing in new coaches for teams. That's going to be my job. I want to be the Nationals dinner picker upper on the team though.
You can pay.
I'll pay. Dude, right. The Nats would have the coolest team dinners ever.
You're paying?
Traveling secretary doesn't help with that.
How much you going to be able to
Not
afford?
A chance.
No.
He might be like, yeah, guys, I'll make the reservation, and then he's like, he's in the front seat of the team van to go to the dinner, and he's like, well, you're paying, right? That's what I'm saying, though. You have a new coach. He sits on the bench. Maybe he wears a pullover. He's like, guys,
he's ready to go.
We're going. Who's coming with me? This is a pitchers only dinner. Team building. I'm telling you, somebody's doing it.
All right, I got one more. So, are you the kind of guy that does like the chip on your shoulder, like motivation from something in the past? Like, I'll give the easy example for, say, our show. Like, Zach Gallen's come on and he's like, hey, I was keeping receipts. Some people didn't vote for me for Cy. And, he had some stuff when he was with the Cardinals where he felt like he wasn't looked, the same way that he should be. So for you, I see two potential chips.
Of course.
One is traded 2 times. Not that that's a bad thing, because you can also look at that in the other way. And 2 is Lemoyne College, the only freaking place that gave you a scholarship offer.
Yeah.
And now you're like, oh, hey, everyone else in the world, there's a million other colleges. How'd that go?
Yeah, honestly, those are definitely 2 of the points. Being traded twice, obviously getting drafted by Cincinnati, thinking, the world of, being a Cincinnati Red in the future and getting traded 6 months later. Didn't even know you could get traded that soon in your career. So I'm like, man, what's going on? And then obviously joining the Dodgers organization, being with them, I think changed my career, got me on the fast track to the big leagues. And then being traded again at the deadline, and I wouldn't say, that brought a chip on my shoulder. I kind of understood, where they were. They wanted to win, and they brought in Max Scherzer and Trey Turner. So 2 of the best guys in this game. So I understood that. And now I have a great opportunity with the Nationals to go out there and pitch and learn every day. So I've definitely adapted from it. And then, being a Lemoyne College alum, no one hears of Lemoyne College. No one knows where it is. And
What's the mascot?
It's a dolphin.
In Syracuse,
It's a
New York?
dolphin.
In New Rochelle.
No, isn't it in Syracuse?
It's in Syracuse.
Syracuse.
About 10
Yeah.
minutes from Syracuse University.
And they're the Dolphins. Because there's a lot of Dolphins up in Syracuse.
So it's hopefully I'm not butchering this, but in being a Jesuit school, the dolphin, represents, the Jesuit values. So Lemoyne College Dolphins.
Just like Jacksonville University is the Dolphins down. So that makes sense.
They
'cause there's
probably have
in
dolphins.
They
Jacksonville.
probably
Yeah.
have dolphins.
Right. They do not
But
bring dolphins.
Lemoyne
to
is
their
still
games.
intertwined.
What was
There's not a
Ace
dolphin
Ventura,
tank.
the Dolphins?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Got
But
steal.
But being from a small school, I think you always have that chip of this school took a chance on me, and I ran with it, and I'm forever grateful for them, Coach Cassidy, and the guys over there. Love my time there, and what a experience I had there. Meeting my girlfriend there and everything like that. It's been a lot of fun to just reflect on coming from there and continuing to progress ever since.
Well,
But-
yeah.
No.
good.
But by the way, you got traded for Max Scherzer. I mean, not bad, right? Matt
Not
Kemp,
bad.
not bad. Puig, Doxwood, bunch of pretty good guys.
Trey.
Trey Turner.
Yeah.
When you got traded to Washington, it was obviously the trade deadline. Did they still have you made your debut 2 days after you got traded there, right? Did they
Yeah.
still have the giant picture of Max in was it left field with his
Right
2 eyes?
fields, right
Is it right?
fields.
And it was
Oh yeah.
the size of
Yeah.
the parking garage, and it was just Max's eyes staring.
Oh,
Was that
yeah.
still up when you were pitching? So he was still looking at you?
It was still there. So I obviously made 2 starts with LA, got traded over there, and my first start with the Nationals was against the Phillies, and I had maybe 12 hours of sleep. It was crazy. But the next day after my start, I look up into the outfield and I see the sign you're talking about, and I'm like, oh my god, it's massive. And I think they took it down a few weeks later, and that was the end of that one.
Is that going to be your sign now?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. That's the
Because
goal,
now
right?
you're the All-Star?
I think it's an ad now, so they're selling that. So
Yeah. Which
Yeah,
is
but
fine.
they
That
got to sell
contributes
you.
to future salary. So
They got to sell you now. You're the All-Star.
yeah, I can be like, I want that sign, and hopefully it gets it done.
Last one for me. Would you have been an All-Star had you stayed on the Dodgers?
That's a tough one because you see, how much their roster kind of churns with young guys. So it would have been tough. I think I would have been clawing for innings, to this day. I think I would have found a way to get in the rotation, knowing who I am, knowing the development, everything like that. But it would have been tough to, sit up here at the end of 2023 and say I would have had 2 years plus of service time, without a doubt.
it worked
So
out.
getting traded is not a bad.
No,
No.
it worked out. You're in the
Yeah.
right spot. So, dude, you're awesome. Thank you for
Thank you,
swinging
guys.
by. Appreciate
When we
you.
start
Hope
when
you
we
had
started
fun.
filming.
Let me
Well,
know.
not me, but
We already
other
are.
people.
In 3.
This was it.
Thanks, Josiah. You're the man.
Thank you,
Appreciate
guys.
you.
Absolutely.
He's awesome. Josiah Gray will actually be at the event tonight, but we won't bother him again. Maybe we will. I mean, he's great.
You will.
Definitely
probably.
bother him.
You probably will. I won't be there, so I don't have to worry about it.
AJ Pierzynski, the star of tonight's Playmakers Classic at Mandalay Bay. Tonight, it's happening. 10 o'clock Eastern time, 7 o'clock local time in Vegas. We'll be streaming live on Foul Territory's YouTube channel. A ton of players will be there. It's going to be a party. It's going to be a rager. So AJ will be there.
All I want to do is meet Michael Rubin.
You can. He will be there.
You know why? Because us Hamptonites, we stick together. So I want
Yeah.
to get invited to his Labor Day.
Yeah, you New
Bash
Yorker,
in the
you,
Hamptons.
AJ.
Ruben.
Anyway, place your first BetMGM Sportsbook wager through the BetMGM Sportsbook app of at least $10, and you'll receive $200 instantly in additional winnings, regardless of your wager's outcome. Gotta use the the bonus code FOUL200, FOUL200. Gambling problem or concern, call 1-800-GAMBLER. Tomorrow, we are still in Vegas at the BetMGM Sportsbook here at Mandalay Bay with the flashy graphic that you're looking at if you're watching right now and not just listening to the pod. Wednesday, November 29th, 1 o'clock Eastern time. Same time that we do shows. We'll be on Stadium and we'll be on Foul Territory YouTube channel for hour 2. Guest list, I'll go over after our next guest. Lucas Giolito with us for the first time on FT Live in person. And can you help me introduce him?
Yeah. First of all, we have breaking news. Lucas Giolito has signed with the Atlanta Braves because, so congratulations. When is the press conference? And since Ronaldo's already there,
go
everywhere with
him. You have to for a second, were you like, where's he going?
Yeah, he's like, wait a second. But you've been with him everywhere. You get traded with him, every time. So he's signed there. Your turn next.
Yeah, it's just a matter of time, right? We've played together since we were like 18 years old in the Chain Link Fence League, Gulf Coast League, Florida. So every step of the way we've been together. So yeah, we'll see. There's like a little bit of magic in that. Maybe we'll see.
Did you guys laugh about that this year? When like, all right, again.
Oh yeah, yeah. The first trade, it was funny because I saw he got traded before they told me. Like I was like in the shower or something. I come out, he's like dapping guys up. I'm like, oh man, like you're going to the Angels, dude. It's the first time we're not going to be playing together. And then like 5 minutes later, the assistant GM's tapping on my shoulder. Hey, let's go in the office. We're part of the same trade. And then, fast forward a month later, the whole waivers situation. The Angels put half the team on waivers, and we were both on there. Both going in the office, talking to the manager. It's like, all right, here we go, off to Cleveland. and then, we were joking like, dude, we're never, ever going to not be on the same team. Maybe this year. Maybe this year will be the first year it breaks up. We'll see.
The streak's on the line right now.
Yeah, it really is.
Yeah.
I'm kind of nervous.
Well, you won't know what to do, though. If he's not with if your whole career from Gulf Coast League all the way now to long big league career already, and he's been there every way, you're gonna wake up if you're not on the same team. You're gonna look around the locker room and be like, wait, where's my Lopey at? Like,
where's my Reynoldo?
Yeah, where's Lopey at?
No.
Yes, that would be. It would definitely be an adjustment period, to say the least.
How was the craziness of the year, especially with the second half where things bounce around? These guys will always say, like, yeah, cool. We go on private planes and we get great food and whatever. But also, oh, hey, you're moving again.
I don't remember private planes. I flew coach from when I got moved from
on your trades. Yeah,
when I got moved from the Angels. When I got moved from the Angels to the Guardians, I flew coach, like middle seat, almost in the very back of the plane. It's like I got told the next day that was my flight to get over to Cleveland.
Wow.
So yeah,
actually against the CBA. This is why he's here for the actually against the CBA. Yeah, especially when you're 6'8" and you're making me sit like real high up here so that I don't feel so.
I'm like hunched
tiny.
over.
I know you are, and to sit in the middle seat, like that's against the CBA.
They just like send you, hey, here's your itinerary.
Yeah, it was like
welcome to Cleveland.
Like,
I could have. I don't know. I'm not trying to like throw shade or anything. I think it was like I could have flown first class if I had taken like a red eye. I'm like, I don't want to take a red eye. I'd rather have like a full off day. And then like, all right, here's your flight for the next day. I'm like, man, there's no first class seats available, huh?
Okay. One of those.
Can you get Comfort Plus? Maybe a little extra.
I mean, you're getting the last. This is like a minor league trade. Like,
you're
getting the last minute. Hey, we need you in Cleveland. We're making a run. We're 6 games back when we traded for you.
Yeah. No, I mean, it was different for, again, like being with Reynoldo the whole time. It was different for him because relievers, it's like, we need you the next day.
Right.
Whereas me, it's like, all right, we're going to have you start in 2 or 3 days. So it's like, you at least have a little bit more leeway to like get your stuff together. The first trade of the Angels and then the waivers to the Guardians, like I did have like a 24-hour period. Whereas for him, like, I don't know how relievers do it, bro. I'm so glad I'm a starting pitcher. It's just like, all right, you got traded. See ya. It's crazy. So, yeah, I mean, overall, like that second half of the season was definitely a bit of a whirlwind because I'd been with the Sox for so long. Like that was very much home to me. I still love Chicago. I'm living in Chicago right now in the off season. But yeah, I mean, kind of take it as it comes. It was a interesting time. I didn't perform the way I wanted to, obviously, but looking forward now.
So wait, maybe he's re-signing with the White Sox. Are you re-signing with the White Sox?
I mean, I honestly have no idea at this point. I haven't even talked to another team. I haven't talked to any teams yet. So, it's still early in the free agency process. So we'll see.
Which obviously you live in Chicago still. Which trade this year was harder for you? Was it the first one where you go to the Angels and but I guess maybe that was more of a thing you kind of saw coming, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because Lynn and Graveman and Joe Kelly, and they kind of started breaking it up, and then you and Lopi go. Or was it the one when you went to Cleveland? Because at me, I'd be like, oh, I'm in Anaheim. I'm in Anaheim the rest of the year. I kind of settled in. I'm going to watch Shohei do his thing. I'm going to hang out with Mike Trout. Kind of cool over here in Anaheim, where you're from over there. And then all of a sudden they're like, hey, by the way, you guys are going to Cleveland. You're like, wait, the beach or Cleveland?
Yeah, it was interesting because it was like the first one was kind of like bittersweet. It was just like, I had my heart was like in Chicago with the White Sox. I've been there for so long, but like you said, like I knew it was coming for at least like a couple weeks, 3 weeks, with the way the team was performing. And then, we're getting closer to the trade deadline. I'm going to get moved. Like I knew it was coming. It was just, where am I going to go? I'd say the second one was probably like harder, I guess, mentally, just because I feel like I'd just gotten settled in with the Angels, really like kind of, fully immersed in the clubhouse and becoming buddies with guys and having a good time. I mean, the team wasn't playing good, but at the same time, like, still like being a part of the group and, developing relationships. And it was like, all right, see ya. You're going to Cleveland for like the last month of the year. It was definitely like, oh, wow, it's crazy. And it was like the waivers thing too, which I didn't understand how that process. Well, I didn't even know what that was until it happened, and then I got educated on it. I remember when I was like,
a lot of us did.
Yeah. I remember when it was like, oh, you and like all these guys are getting put on waivers. I'm like, waivers? Like, damn, I did that bad? Like, I knew I pitched poorly for like, 3 weeks, but that bad that like they're just like, see ya, we hate you, get out of here. It's like, no, it's not exactly how it worked. It was like a salary dump situation. So,
and it was half the team.
Yeah, it was a bunch of guys. So it was very interesting. I feel like looking back on it, it was such a weird experience for like that 2-3 month period that I can look back on it and be like, yeah, it didn't do great. It was definitely kind of hard, but make you kind of a better player in the end for it, learning a lot.
All right. So I have to ask, what the fuck happened this year? The White Sox. I mean, I come in there and see you guys and talk
all
to you
the
guys.
time.
And it was like, I'm like,
he's the most annoying advisor. It's okay. You can say that. Ambassador.
Please.
You don't even know what that
I'd
is.
stay out of your way. I come in there and say hi, and I never got in there.
Very respectful.
Yeah,
Be honest.
I hated going in. I always hate going. I'd come in and see the guys I know that are still around, Rob and some of the guys. But like, obviously, as a White Sox fan and someone that cares for the White Sox, I picked you guys to do really well this year. I mean, I was like, oh, they're going to the playoffs this year. They got all these guys. Everyone's going to be back, healthy, ready to go. And then it just was like, wow. So was there one thing, like as a White Sox fan, that I can look at you and see, like, man, this was the thing or that was the thing? Is there anything that you can think of that just made it all go south?
I've been asked this question so many times.
I know. I mean,
I was like, wow.
I wasn't even on the team, and I still get it. Like, what's wrong with these guys? Ask me about your White Sox. What's wrong? I'm like, I don't know.
And he watches every freaking
game.
Yeah.
Even like
Die
September
hard.
10th when they're not in it.
We bust balls about being homers, but he's not a homer. He's like, he is a White Sox.
I'm in it with you guys.
He's with it. He's grinding.
Yeah, I mean, man, it was like nothing could never like click.
Yeah,
it was like
makes sense.
When we were pitching well, we weren't hitting. And when we were like hitting, we weren't pitching well. or maybe like the starters would be scuffling and it put a lot of pressure on the bullpen, and then the bullpen would be scuffling, put a lot of pressure on the starters, poor defense. It's like you have to be firing like relatively consistently in all aspects of the game. You know, you can maybe falter for a little bit, but like other areas will pick you up. And then having like, I think a huge thing is like a lot of like clubhouse, like cohesion, like guys all being on the same page, pulling from the same rope. Cause that's the thing is like, we all got along. Like no one like hated each other. We weren't having like issues or anything in the clubhouse. It was just like, I don't know, just some missing piece. And it's like hard. Yeah, it didn't work.
You could just say it just didn't work. And it happens. Like you've been on team. I've been on teams. Everyone gets along great. And you're like, oh, we just don't know how to win a game.
Yeah,
it sucks.
Yeah, it's like we couldn't find ways to like pick each other up when we needed to. And yeah, I mean, just led to like a lot of losing. And then when you're losing a lot, it's like now the vibes are just going down, 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 down. It's hard to like be like, all right, guys, no, we're going to turn this around. Like it was hard to like get that kind of energy going. And then it just, kind of kept going in the wrong direction.
I feel you. You feel like a fight would have been a good thing? Like in the sense of like a clubhouse fight? You know what I mean? I don't know if you've ever been
versus Lynn and Graveman cage match, and after the game,
you know what I mean? Yeah. Like you're just sick and tired, and it's boiling over. Sometimes a team fight brings things together.
Maybe we should have done like a Fight Club situation on the road. It's like go.
Who would you have liked to have drawn?
Who had a suite? Team? Lance had a suite. It's like we all meet in Lance's suite at this time, and it's like, all right, we're just gonna schedule out some, just like let it eat. We actually did that in high school, and it was like great team building. My high school baseball
so that's
team.
What you had Ethan Katz. He could have set it up again like he did back in high school and be like, Ethan, let's do this again.
Like,
I don't think he was a fan of that one. We enjoyed it though. Yeah, I get what you're saying for sure.
Yeah.
Why not? It's not necessarily a bad thing.
You're like, we didn't think about it. We just kept having meeting after meeting after meeting after meeting.
Yeah,
team meetings. Did you guys lead the league in team meetings this year?
Probably not. I don't think we went crazy with the team meetings.
That's good.
But
winners win, losers have team meetings. As Ozzy used to tell us all the time.
Yeah.
Good players play, bad players hustle. I mean, it was like through the great Ozzy Guillen quotes.
Yeah, those are great. Good players.
Hey, I want to ask you about Ohtani. What was it like playing with him? Obviously Trout too, but like Ohtani's the man of the minute right now of the offseason because he just tells us everything about, every move he makes, and he's telling us every team he's talking to and all of that.
Oh, yeah.
What else could you add? Even though he's told us everything, but is there anything else that you can add about? Obviously, I'm kidding. Mysterious Shohei Ohtani, but like, what was it like? Did you go up to him and be like, "Hey, dude, you're awesome"? And his brain, was he cool? Like, did you guys talk? This is what I thought of too, because I know you're a gamer. Isn't he a big gamer? I try and tell people at least. I feel like he said that once in life at least that you can connect with him on that level.
Yeah. So I got to know him like decently well for like a month period. Him and Ippei, his translator, who's like they're attached at the hip. It makes it really easy because Shohei knows a good amount of English. He knows a good amount of Spanish, but sometimes like, when conversation isn't flowing well, he always had Ippei there to help out. And Ippei's super cool too. He's a man. So yeah, I got to know him pretty well. I mean, the biggest thing that kind of struck me, it's like you look at a player from afar, you play against him. I pitched against him a lot over the years. And it's like, man, what makes this guy so good? Like, does he work really hard, or is he just like one of those guys that like rolls out of bed and does it? And he's like naturally gifted, and he kind of has, and you don't really know until you're like with that dude and seeing like what they do on a daily basis. And he is obviously supernaturally talented and gifted, and he does on both sides of the field, pitching and hitting. But I was very, very impressed with his preparation. He always had an iPad in his hand, like no matter what, when we were at the field, and he'd constantly be like scouting. He'd be like in the weight room preparing to pitch. but like have an iPad and then the TVs showing like the opposing team's pitcher, like pitch sequencing so he could prepare to hit. Well, he's also like doing warm-up exercises for his arm because he's going to go out and pitch that night, but he's also hitting. It was like crazy. He was always doing some form of like scouting and preparation. He also sleeps a lot. That's another thing I learned that he does. He'll sleep like 14 hours. It's like, I can't do that.
Wow.
That's crazy.
Wow.
Yeah.
So how much shit did you get signed by him? when they called you in the office,
You're on waivers.
Phil Nevin calls you and is like, hey, by the way, we've waivered you to Cleveland. And you just were like, you looked at the clubhouse guy and you're like, hey, man, I need like 12 balls, a couple of Tawny jerseys,
Yeah.
hats. You went up to Shohei with like your arms full. We're like,
for my
okay,
charity.
Before I leave, yeah.
Yeah.
You can make them all out to Lucas. I'll erase that later.
Yeah, I'm honestly like not a huge memorabilia guy. I've never ever had too much interest in like getting signed stuff from other players. My claim to fame with Shohei is he followed me back on Instagram.
Oh,
So I'll take that one.
Let's go.
I'll take that one.
Okay.
Yes, that's big.
That's huge.
That's big.
It's got like,
And now it's like whenever I see him, whatever team he signs with, like, you know, if maybe we sign with the same team. That'd be really cool.
Atlanta's in the running.
But no, whatever, you know, I'll always like, you know, we have like that relationship. I can always go and say hi to him and see how he's doing. Yeah, he's also like low key very funny. He would like talk shit to me here and there, like he'd make fun of me a little bit, which I enjoyed. So yeah, I mean, he was a good teammate. He really wants to win. Like I can see that he wants to win. Like he wants to win World Series pretty bad. So yeah, best of luck to him.
Yeah. That's awesome.
Well, you're going to play with him wherever he signs.
Yeah, we'll see how it goes.
It would not suck. It would not
No.
suck. Well, dude, it's great to have you here. Really appreciate it. Have fun. And hopefully, I would say we'll see you in spring training, but I don't know where yet. But
Yeah,
good luck, dude. We'll be following.
yeah, appreciate it, guys.
Yeah,
absolutely.
thank I wish we had more time with Lucas. He's good. I like him.
He
Good
was
combo.
maybe tonight. Maybe tonight.
He
we'll
gave
have time.
Yeah.
he gave very
Playmakers.
he gave very good answers.
Mm-hmm.
It just was very so like we only knew he only had a few minutes, 15 minutes with him or whatever it was. So it was like I was like at some point I was like, dude, can we hurry up because I got so much more I
You
want
wanted
to
the
ask you.
pitch clock
I know.
on him?
Yeah, seriously, I was like,
Yeah.
can we get a? I'm like, okay,
Beep, beep.
go. You got
My turn.
18 seconds. Let's go. There's a runner on first
Yeah,
because he gave great answers.
he was great. Actually, D-Rod, a regular in the chat, said that Giolito has a good broadcasting voice. He could do car commercials with the low APR financing. Yeah, he's got a good voice.
Okay.
He's got a future in this. He talks a lot
You'd be
outside of the
intimidated
game.
if you read him. If you meet him live, you'd be intimidated. That's a big dude.
He's a big
dude.
6'6".
That is a large carcass.
Yeah, he's a big dude. He's a gamer though, so he talks a lot. You know, like he'll do the was it
Oh,
Twitch?
he straps
He'll
it
do the
on.
Twitch thing.
Gets on the
What?
sticks.
Yeah, he's big.
And like does the streaming.
When I've interviewed him in the past, usually when he's at home, he's got the headset, the Tommy Canley headset.
Oh yeah.
So anyway, all right, we got a few minutes left. So we are in Vegas to announce some news that's already been announced, but we'll do it again because we'll announce it in a different way. For spring training, the Brewers are going to play the A's at Las Vegas Ballpark on March 8th and 9th as part of, quote, 2024 Big League Weekend. Split squad games. So home games against the A's. Yeah, it's hot. It's hot. Why is it hot? Why are we talking about exhibition games is in a hot corner segment? Because the A's are playing in Vegas. That's a thing. And actually, didn't you read a little article today about
Independent League? They have now the Oakland Bees, the Ballers, are going to play there. So
Are they
Oakland's
gonna
going to have
play in-
baseball. It's not going to be big leagues.
They're gonna play the Coliseum.
I don't know where they're going to play, but still.
That'd be
Pioneer
cool.
League.
I
Pioneer
think-
League.
Did you ever get to play in that?
Pioneer League?
We did the Big League Weekend.
They didn't call it the Big League Weekend.
We did it a couple times. One time we played the Cubs. We flew on the same plane from Phoenix and flew up here, and then we flew back together.
Was
Kind
it
of
fun?
awkward. It was kind of awkward.
It was weird.
In Vegas.
Did you guys play
Yeah,
cards
I
against
played
each
it a
other?
bunch of times here in spring training. Well, no, we were all just more. I mean, it's not that long. It's like a 40-minute flight. So we're just BSing with each other.
Yeah.
But it was. Yeah, we did it. I did it 3 or 4 times.
At the
think.
old stadium
Yeah,
with the big high wall and everything.
yeah.
The only thing I remember there, like I never played there. I never played at that stadium.
Ozzy, we would come in the night before, and Ozzy'd say you're either playing the first game or the second game.
Right.
So that way I knew which night was the night out in the town.
Then you would
Families would
go
all
check
come.
things out.
Yeah, go see, a show or
Things.
whatever. Things. It was usually day games, which was nice. And then there's one game I wouldn't play. So it was like, didn't have to really get excited.
Yeah, never did it.
It's fun.
Do you think that Vegas fans are excited? Didn't you promise us you were going to talk to Vegas people out here?
You haven't given me a handheld microphone. I tell you what, while you guys are at that party thing tonight, I'll go do that. I'll be a man on the town while you guys are at the
Man on the street segment?
while you guys are in the party.
That's what you'll
Do it.
Can
Lock
you
it
ask
in.
some people? You're going to the Sphere today, right?
Allegedly.
Okay. Can you ask allegedly? Can you ask people
He
there?
doesn't want to get bombarded.
Yeah, I don't want
You're gonna be
I don't want
okay.
people to show up.
I didn't say what time. Can you ask people there if they're excited about
I mean,
stealing the A's?
can I have
and
Jesse
John
come
Fisher?
with me and he can be my camera guy and he can sit outside during the show?
Yeah, maybe.
Sure. That's like
Allegedly.
really inside
Allegedly.
FT talk, but okay. People don't know who Jesse is.
He's one of our interns.
The Sphere isn't far from where the stadium's going to be built. Hey, when you come to the Sphere the next time, would it be awesome to be able to see a baseball game right over there? There's not a lot going on here in town. You could,
I want to see
Give
this
yourself
thing.
3
I want
hours
to see
to go
this
to a game?
Fears thing.
you know what?
I want to see this Fears thing.
Well, yeah, but probably people want to see that more than they want to see a baseball game. In
Right
Vegas.
now they do.
Big League weekend.
Big League
Minor league
weekend's
team.
fun.
Exactly. All right, let's slap. Oh, not yet? Okay. Just kidding.
We can slap whenever we want.
What?
We can
I'll
slap
slap you.
whenever we want.
Just a reminder to everyone, though, we will be streaming live tonight, 7 o'clock local time, 10 o'clock Eastern time. So we'll be back. Take your naps, do what you got to do, watch back the show, and let's finish strong here.
AJ's a napper. Oh, can't wait for my nap today.
Some people have just been in the chat today just calling for us to drag the Mariners. I don't know. I think there's just angry Mariners fans about what's going on. So
Angry FT Mariner fans?
FT Mariner fans, we cover that a lot. Also, by the way,
we have a good segment. That's a good lead-in.
Cal Raleigh is going to be one of our guests tomorrow. So we'll ask him about their Shohei Ohtani non-pursuit, the loss of his teammate to the Diamondbacks, Eugenio Suarez. I bet you they're not going to re-sign Teoscar Hernandez either. He's going to hit free agency. Their big thing now is
54%. They're going to sign 54% of the free agents they need to.
and they don't want swing and miss guys, right? They struck out too much. Now they're like, oh, Suarez led the AL and K's, he gone.
He gone. So complete shift. No more strikeouts.
Yeah. So they're going to go from the Mariners to like maybe the Guardians offense. I don't know. I'm very curious to see what goes down there. And
Cal Raleigh's not. Cal Raleigh's going to hit some dingers.
Cal Raleigh is a star, but
He's a star.
they need to get some help for your boy.
One
He's
game.
also, according to Scott, not the 4-hole hitter.
Cal?
You said it. I didn't.
Cal doesn't want to be the 4-hole hitter. That's what I said. He wants help on his team so he can be like the 6
We'll
hitter.
ask him tomorrow.
Ask
See
him.
if it gets him. See if he wants to leave the show because you're being mean to him. Not that he doesn't want to be a 4-hitter.
That's AJ slander. Classic AJ slander.
How was
right
that slander? You said it.
now. What do you got on your head?
The
That's-
Chupacabras.
You're coming in strong
This
in
is like
Vegas. Holy
Vegas,
shit.
this Vegas hat. I don't even know if I can wear this out in Vegas. It might get stolen. The
What-
Sabaceros.
What is that?
Exactly. You need to look it up. The Copa Diversión Series.
Well, I know that, but which one team is that?
The Scranton Railriders.
Oh. If I would have flipped a coin, it would have been that or the what's the other one you always wear?
Oh, what's
Columbus
the other one?
Clippers
Columbus Clippers.
or
Is that what-
Scranton Wilkes-Barre.
We already said that.
Railriders.
So
Or the
Scranton-
Iron Pigs.
There you go.
Which
There
one's
you
the Iron Pigs?
go. The Iron Pigs is the Mamawanas.
No, which Iron
And-
Pigs are
and
not
the-
Scranton Wilkes-Barre?
No, Iron Pigs are Lehigh Valley
Oh,
Iron Pigs. Phillies. Scranton Wilkes-Barre is the Yankees. Columbus is the Cleveland Guardians. So yeah,
Some of us skipped that league.
some of us didn't and played a lot in that league.
We'll see you tonight, 10 o'clock Eastern time if you're up late on the East Coast for the players party. Tons of current player guests. And then tomorrow, FT Live, regular time, Cal
Wait, what
Raleigh,
time? 10?
Brent Suter, Will Benson.
10? I thought it was 7.
10 o'clock Eastern.
Oh.
Oh my gosh. Read your emails one time. We'll see you tonight.
It's like you don't even listen to me anymore.